We are back here, Ethan Clerc podcast show. Great to be back tonight. We have a double entendre tonight. We have two guests on the podcast. We have one via Zoom. We have one here in person. And I'm going to first introduce the return of Trent Wyczawski back on the podcast. Great to have you here tonight, Trent.
Thanks for having me on again.
It's first time we went, and that was the time when the audio wasn't recording in the beginning. And so we went, and I think we even went longer than the first time we talked, because we didn't record any the first time.
Right. Yeah, it was a good one.
And it was a great one. We covered a lot of different things. For people that don't know, Trent is a tattoo artist here in Mankato at Mecca. You were mainly talking to me about conspiracy theories and like government stuff like that. We got into that a little bit. And I feel like a lot of the things we talk about with you all kind of go full circle. And it's like it all comes back into this weird overarching like government conspiracy against us all. Does that not seem like what things are?
That's what it is.
Is that what it is?
That's what it
is that just not even a conspiracy theory? Is that just how things are?
It's not a conspiracy theory.
Well, I mean, that's going to bring us to a good point here tonight, because the man that is joining us tonight also via Zoom is David. I hope I get this right. It shouldn't be too hard. David Surber, and he is in Moab, Utah. And this is the guy, everyone's been hearing about this in the news, the monolith, the weird monolith that was found in the Utah desert. David Surber was the first person to go out there other than the people in the helicopters, like whoever the guys were that actually found it originally. David is the actual guy that took the Reddit coordinates and went out and searched the desert overnight and found it.
Put hands on it,
yeah, and he's got video of it. So we are going to talk to him and get his side of the story.
Awesome.
So let's talk to David.
Objects.
Agreed.
And then,
Yeah, I remember.
It's not even the shape.
Negative.
Mentally ill.
It's a special effects agency. We're excited to have you and hear the story, because it's been making like all over the world news. Did you imagine it would get this big? Are we recording, Colin?
Yeah, we did. All right, we're good.
We're recording now.
No way, man. I was like, I don't use Reddit that much, so I let the guys on Reddit know, like, hey, follow my Instagram. And I had like 350 people on there, and I just post hiking stuff. And by the time I got down there, I had like thousands of messages. So I was like, oh crap,
Yeah. So talk a little bit, first of all, about, like, you saw this on Reddit, like you said. What led you to go, like, I need to go see this, I need to drive and get there as soon as possible? What kind of led you to do that?
Yeah, so I mean, we all saw the video, I think, of the pilots landing, right? I mean, it looked super cool in that area, right?
Yeah.
And like, crazy part, we were just down there like 2 weeks prior in Canyonlands. We go down there like every once in a while. I was like, damn, why couldn't this happen like 2 weeks ago? But no, honestly, it's like, it was as simple as I had off from work the next day. I got home from work. I saw the coordinates were posted, and I'm just, in my personality, I'm like, there's very little in this world that hasn't been like touched by millions of people, right?
Yeah.
So it's just something like brand new to go out there and adventure. And I'm like, screw it, let's do it. So I just hopped in the car and went, because I had a feeling if I waited, there'd be hordes of people there by the time I got there.
Yep.
So
where are you from then? You're from Utah?
yeah, so I'm up in like north of Salt Lake City.
So how far of a drive was that for you?
So it was 6.5 hours.
Wow. And so
Yeah.
to explain,
Worth it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Explain,
Oh, dude, yeah.
explain a little bit finding the thing, because I can only imagine it was a challenge, even with the coordinates, to get to it.
Yeah. So I put on my page, like my Instagram, I think, but like I did a little Google Earth recon, it's
Yeah.
something simple. And then, because it wasn't, when I saw the Google coordinates, Google Earth coordinates, I put it in Google Maps, and as rural as they try to make it sound, it was literally like 2,000 feet from the road.
Really?
Yeah. So when I put that in, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to look on Google Earth and then drive down there, right? And so it was it's this road called Lockhart Road. And if you take Lockhart Road from the north, it's like a big off-roading type road, like class 3, class 4 off-road. So you're not getting down. I have a Subaru Crosstrek. I was like, I'm not making it. but if you come in through the south, it's just like a dirt road, and you're on that. It's 12 miles, but it took me 45 minutes to go that 12 miles.
Really?
It was like 5 a.m, pitch black. It was super cool. So I got out there, I turned off the car. It was kind of eerie, you know. It's like extremely quiet. No one else was out there at that point. And I probably saw, like, while looking for this thing, I probably saw like 12 shooting stars. So even if it was a stack of rocks, it would have been cool, right? But I did have in the back of my mind, like, part of the reason I was going down there to confirm for Reddit was, you know, they searched that whole area after finding the pilot's flight path. And it easily, you know, southern Utah, it easily could have just been a vertical red rock, right? Instead of a monolith, you know? So like, I'm searching for this thing on my GPS. It's pitch black. So I go into the wrong slot canyon like 3 different times. So I'm getting a little nervous at that point. And the sun's starting to come up now. So it's probably closer to 6:30. And I'm peering around the corner. GPS said, you know, 32 feet to the objective, like with the coordinates I had put in there. And the way the slot canyon is shaped is at an angle. So like, as I was coming around the corner, in my mind, I'm like, this is either going to be a stack of rocks 7 hours later, or this is going to be the monolith, you know?
So you come around the corner, and there it is. And is it straight out of like like extraterrestrial movie? Like, does it seem like some crazy thing, or is the media hyping it up a little bit?
So it with the amount of light that was, I think if it was broad daylight, maybe not as special, because it was pretty dark. From a distance, I couldn't see that it was riveted and that, you know, there was that it was panels riveted together. So it looked like one solid piece, and you know, there's a million stars out. So it looked really cool. You know, it was pretty epic. And the videos that everyone's sharing is like people were already there. That was kind of later in the day. When I got around the corner, honestly, when I was searching for the thing, I probably heard like 10 other cars pull up.
Really?
So I knew other people were also like starting to look for it. So I put away my cameras and everything. I just spent like 10 minutes with it. You know, I just kind of sat on the ground and like enjoyed the piece. And then a drone and like 2 other cameras showed up. So I was like, oh.
Wow. And you were the first guy to get to it and document it. You were the first guy to get there.
I think I was the second. So it's like Heavy D or Diesel Dave or something like that.
Oh, really?
The Diesel Brothers. Yeah.
Yep.
So Tuesday afternoon, you know, I don't have a helicopter, but, you know, so Tuesday afternoon, I think he hopped in a helicopter and flew down there. So I think I was probably the second or third, you know, group or person to get down there that morning. So he got there Tuesday afternoon. I was there, first one there Wednesday morning.
Wow. So you're the first guy to actually do it, like adventurous.
5 foot.
Yeah. So going up to it then, I watched your video, but for people that didn't, can you kind of explain what it is to people? Because it looks like a giant piece of metal, but really it's something completely different. Can you kind of explain that?
Yeah. So when you get up to it, it's, I think, luckily there's no sound in the video because I was an idiot and I said it was like aluminum, but it's, I was up for 36 hours. It's obviously stainless steel. It wasn't corroded. It's been out there for about 5 years. If you have Google Earth Pro, you can look at the images, and it appeared end of 2015-ish.
Wow.
So it's been out there for about, which is crazy. Been out there for about 5 years. There was like no rust on it. It looked solid still. And I'd say each panel was probably 18 inches wide, 12 feet tall, hollow and triangular from the top. So the way I would think about it is it was probably built differently. But if you staked 3 posts into the ground that were, you know, 12 feet tall and then riveted panels to it, right, it would be kind of framed like that. And then the bedrock, they probably cut 2 to 4 inches into the bedrock. And I'll send y'all after this. I had a lot of people messaging, right? So I got a picture of it when it's gone now. I got a picture of the ground. I'll send you, it's probably 4 inches deep. And they actually put silicone around the base too.
Really?
To protect it. And then I had like I had a bunch of people were like, oh, bring a magnet and all that. You know, I'm not a research, you know, I hike. So I grabbed like a refrigerator magnet. So everyone's giving me crap for that. But, you know.
It wasn't magnetic, obviously, though. I saw videos of people actually going out there and taking it down now. It's not there anymore. And I think they actually figured out who did it. And I think they have pictures of the inside. I think it was made of wood and then stainless steel drilled or riveted into the wood or something. That's from what it looked like from the pictures I saw.
Yeah, that video came out right like an hour ago or earlier today.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those guys took it, and then Trent here was saying that it's listed on Facebook Marketplace right now for 21 grand. The listing just came out, so people are trying to sell it now. Maybe you should have taken it before.
I know, dude. Right for that 10 minutes, I should have thrown it in the Surber. You know?
Yeah, but when you were leaving, there were people already pulling up and showing up. It was like that hot of a thing hours after the photos came out.
That is why I hopped in the car and got down there. Right? It's like I want some time to like. I hate when there's people like in shots when I'm trying to get a photo or something. So I was like, let me get down there before. And by the time I left, there was 20 people there. There was a family of 5 with like 3 little kids in astronaut suits.
Really?
I mean, it was pretty cute, but still, like, there was a lot of people there. So
what are your thoughts on the purpose of it? Was it an art project? What do you think? Who put it there? What are your thoughts on that? Aliens?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like driving down there, that would have been really awesome if it was right or otherworldly. But I also want to be like scientific and real about it. So when I got there, it was pretty clearly man-made.
Yep.
I think some people I've been getting some hate mail every time I say that from people, but I think my whole thing on it is I do believe, you know, there's water on other planets and moons in our own solar system, right? So it'd be weird to think that there's not some elements for life somewhere out there. I just think if they could travel at the speed of light or faster, they would not use wood and rivets.
Exactly.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So, you know, but
probably just an art project then.
Yeah, probably. Like my similar to what you said, my buddies were like, dude, why didn't you take it? That's gonna be like a Banksy, you know, it's gonna like sell for millions of dollars, you know. And I think probably a Space Odyssey 2001 fan or an art project. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's crazy that you said it was put there 5 years ago or whatever, and now people are just finding it. Like how much other stuff is out in the desert that we don't know about. And you hike, you said, so maybe you have other experiences finding strange things, maybe not this strange, but of being out in that area and just finding remote things that haven't been touched in who knows how long.
Right. And that's like, I've been getting so people are a little frustrated with me that I didn't have a YouTube or anything. So I just set one up and I'm going to put more details around the monolith, but I've been getting a lot of messages around different coordinates for people want me to go check out. I'm like, it might be a cool thing just to go see. Right. And, but yeah, to your point, I think, you know, hiking through some of these more remote mountains, you've even come up on some weird shelters that have been abandoned. A couple garden gnomes here or there, you know, which depending on like what time of day it is could be creepy. But, But yeah, no, it's definitely been pretty cool. I've already gotten like a lot of people messaging me to go check out some other stuff. So
really,
yeah, it's just weird how quick it all escalated, you know?
I know. I think it might be part of it is COVID right now. Everyone's bored and like stuck at home. And so the monolith was like the light at the end of the tunnel almost. Like, I've seen that you've gotten like some big news, like coverage of you on this. Like who's reached out to you? Can you just kind of name some of the agencies?
So I thought it was a prank at first. BBC was the first one. And I'm like, okay, this is someone on Instagram, like trying to get my credit card, you know? But it was BBC. BBC, Good Morning America, CNN, CTV, which is like Toronto, and then Canadian Broadcast Channel. I was on a New Zealand radio station yesterday.
Wow.
Tomorrow I'm on like a Russian TV news station, and then I got a German one in the afternoon.
Nice.
And I'm like, what is happening? You know what I mean?
Crazy, yeah. You're like a celebrity. I was reading articles, and it's like, who is David Surber? And it's like the guy that found the monolith. It's like all this crazy stuff.
My buddy's been giving me so much crap about like, who is David Surber? I'm like, guys, shut up.
Is it weird to have all these people reaching out to you right now, in the middle of everything going on? Just like not just you, but the monolith and everything. Is that a weird feeling to have all this attention on you like that?
Yeah, like it almost doesn't feel real, you know. Like I had a live TV interview yesterday with like a nationwide network, and you know, I'm like getting dry mouth as she's counting down the time, like getting nervous, you know. And then But then when it starts, like I'm just calm about it. So it's kind of weird because it's stuff I enjoy. I enjoy being outdoors and hiking and like talking about this. So it seems a little bit more natural, but it doesn't feel real. Like my wife just sent me like a Now This. I guess I'm on Now This.
Really?
Which I watch all the time, right? So like the fact that I look at that all the time and now like my face is on it, it's definitely surreal, but there's some cool things too. I mean, I've been getting thousands of messages and a lot of them are really nice, some hate mail, but like this one guy, right? His mother has dementia. He's at home and he cares for her and he can't really leave the house. And he's like, hey man, being able to watch your story, like step by step, helped me kind of live it through you. And that was super, you know what I mean? Like almost made me tear up. So there's a lot of cool stuff like that.
Wow. What do you do for a living, David? What's your full-time job?
Yeah, so I'm like a ops manager at a manufacturing plant.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So people were asking me, they're like, well, there's one in Romania. Are you going to fly out there? I'm like, I would love to, but I got a job too, you know? So,
yeah. Did you hear that the Romanian one's gone now? They took that too?
Yeah.
Do you think that more of these monoliths are going to start popping up now that it's become like a cultural thing? Like they're just going to start popping up all over?
Yeah. So there's so I was looking at the Romanian one because I was thinking, I'm like, maybe I could get out there. But anyway, so I was like trying to plan it. And that one's actually on private property. So I figured that one would be more protected. Now, like, I'm not going to judge anyone, but it definitely seems like if it's on private property and it showed up on their property and now it's mysteriously gone, like, you know, I'm sure there'll be a bunch of like fun copycats out there. That monolith actually, you know, like, not to knock our Utah monolith, but that one looked cool. Like that one had circular weld mark, like grind marks in it. Like it looked pretty awesome and it was welded together. But I think putting up monoliths and then stealing them is going to become a thing now.
Yeah. That's like the new Da Vinci around here, around like this time. You said you were getting hate mail. What are people saying to you? What are people mad about?
Yeah. So like just to put the scope on it, thousands of like awesome emails, maybe like 20 to 40, like, you know, F you, I can't believe you shared the coordinates, just so you like destroy nature. And I'm like, so at first I was just like blocking all of them because, you know, I listen to like Andy Frisella, Ed Milet and all them, and they're like, just block all that crap. Right?
Yep.
Eventually I started responding to a few of them and it's like, here's the deal. It's not some rural protected landscape. It is down Lockhart Road. Google Maps will take you directly to it. It's frequently traveled. There's campgrounds nearby. I get the concerns maybe around like littering and all that. So I do get those aspects, but also the coordinates, if you Google coordinates of the monolith, they pop up on Reddit first thing, right? It's not like I release them. So just like a bunch of crap like that, right? Or like you're the type of person who hates the environment. And like, it's just funny because if you look at like the way I live my life, it's very much to try to be more sustainable and environmentally friendly. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of.
So what's the next thing from here? You're talking about the YouTube channel. Are you going to start doing more adventurous type things? I mean, obviously you've hiked and all that. Are you going to start documenting this and keeping the channel going? Yeah,
I think so. So obviously, like I had zero plans for that. So people were like, well, why'd you post your video on Instagram? It degrades it. It's not true 4K. And I'm like, sorry, bro. You know, so I set up. So I was like, dude, I have no idea what I'm doing. Yeah. Sorry. So I said, I did my first YouTube video last night. I'm going to do another one tonight to put all the 4K stuff for the monolith up there. After that, though, I've been getting a lot of cool things like different coordinates. I've also, you know, I was in the military for a long time. I was like in the infantry and Ranger qualified and all that fun stuff. So I've done a lot of the like outdoors, rural type stuff. And I have a lot of those skills and a lot of people are asking about that. So I'm like, I could probably do some type of a fun channel where we're documenting adventures, but then maybe also doing some teaching, right? Like some map reading and that sort of thing. And that people want, like some orienteering stuff. And the only other thought I had is because I did have a few people write me who like have family members with disabilities who can't travel. I'm like, it'd be kind of cool if you could, because now like I use a GoPro Hero 9, but they even have like the Hero Max. If you could film some of those adventures in like a VR mode.
Wow, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then people could like try to enjoy it that way firsthand. I could post it up in VR on YouTube So I'm going to try to do a few things. We'll see where it rolls, you know?
Wow,
But,
yeah, that's a great idea. And I think everybody loves this kind of stuff, especially right now, but in general, people love like a mystery. And that's been like a big part about this whole thing is like the mystery of the monolith. I wonder if the artist will ever come forward. I can't believe they haven't yet.
So like me, I'm a very impatient person. Hence, I drove through the middle of the night to see the damn thing. But if I built that thing and put it out there, I feel like I'd let a month go by and then like be like to one of my buddies, be like, hey man, you should probably, I'm not saying there's something out there, you should probably go check out these coordinates. You know what I mean? Like,
Just leak it.
yeah, right. I don't know how they waited. I don't know how they waited 5 years, you know? So it'd be cool if they came out and said something. I bet you it's kind of like Bureau of Land Management said it's illegal and it's out on public land. So I bet they don't want to come forward, or they just like the mystery of it. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
it's got to be, one or the other. I don't know what the fine is for doing something like that. I know they were saying it's private property. The actual monolith is property of the government because it was on government land.
Oh, okay.
So they're looking for the people that have it because they need it back. Or so there's an investigation right now. Very interesting how this has all gone down and like the way that everything went down. It's just very strange to me.
It's amazing they have any time right now to do that.
Yeah, the government has time right now to look for a monolith.
You know what? We got some free time.
Yeah. You guys have anything you want to ask him? You guys have anything? Any questions for him?
No, I can't think of any. It's really awesome though. It's the videos have been sick, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man.
It'd be really cool if you did like some kind of, put some coordinates together that people give you and do some kind of orienteering course and kind of teach a little bit, but then, make an extended adventure out of it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I kind of want to start doing. I think because I had 2 people like ask me to track down they're like saw a photo. They're like, hey, can you tell me where this photo was taken? And one of them is in southern Utah down in Canyonlands. And so I might do something like that next where it's like show people kind of the planning phases and the navigation part of it, but also like, hey, here's how much water you should use per day, this sort of thing.
Yeah,
and
make it like a backpacking, informative. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Well, David, we got to thank you so much for coming on here talking about this. We're going to get into some other like UFO topics, but I really wanted to ask you just your experience because you have like a firsthand, you were there, you were one of the first to see it. And I think it's a great story, and I'm interested to see what's going to happen from now on with the monolith thing. Like you said, people are going to put them up and then steal them themselves, or what's going to happen. So we'll link your YouTube channel. I'm subscribed to it now, so I'm excited to see what other content, and we'll continue sharing that as well because I think it's awesome what you're doing. And thank you so much for doing this interview.
I appreciate it, y'all.
All right,
Great to meet you.
Take care. Nice to meet you. Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah,
nice
I
guy.
bet that was fun to get out there.
Oh,
and
my.
Especially like he arrived at the right time.
Yep.
Like right before dawn.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like the intensity of not being able to see it.
Yep.
Walking up on it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's giving me goosebumps thinking about it. It's awesome.
You guys are talking about orienteering. What is that?
So it's like map reading and direction finding. It's using a compass and a map to basically, plot a course and follow it.
Gotcha. And
They do a lot of it in the military for
Oh, really?
land nav is what they call it.
I couldn't believe the guy that found it. I actually have the guy on here. He never went to it, I don't think, but he, like an internet sleuth or whatever. Tim, what is his name here? I kind of messed it up. Tim Slane. He identified it using Google Earth hours after the pictures are released.
I heard about that. He was looking for a red rock face, right?
Yep.
That matched it, and he was just going through pictures and trying to find it. It's incredible that he found that.
And he
It's
was looking at
incredible.
water patterns, and he was looking at all these
I wonder if he's
different
a
things.
geologist.
He must be, or there's people online that are unbelievable at finding information out, no matter what it is.
Well, they have there's entire groups of people now that just use like Google Earth to do exploration stuff. Like they're finding new pyramids in the jungle that haven't been uncovered, like all kinds of stuff. People are
Really?
finding like little islands and little stuff.
Huh?
Google Earth is incredible.
Yeah.
Like, it's unbelievable the stuff you can find on there, and like
Yeah.
if you go on Street View and see like crazy images and
Oh yeah, we
There's
saw
some
this
insane
girl I used
stuff.
this girl I used to tattoo with. Like we're looking on Google Earth, and she's like, "Oh my God, it's me mowing my lawn."
Really?
Yeah, it's just like mowing her lawn on the Google Earth thing. You can look on. There are sites that have like funny pictures.
Yeah.
But there's pictures with like, people knocked out or like
There's
beat
some
up in the
creepy
street,
stuff,
dead
yeah.
stuff. There's I don't know, it's crazy stuff.
Yeah, you don't want to get too much into it.
I don't want to misquote something, but there's some wild pictures out there that I've seen. From
Oh
it.
yeah. Well, and the crazy thing he's talking about was that you can go back on Google Earth and see that this has been here and
For 5 years, right?
Yeah. I have it on here. It
That was actually my first thought when it came out. I was like, I wonder how long it's been there.
Yeah, I figured it was like someone put this up like during COVID.
That's what I kind of.
You know what I
thought,
mean?
too.
Bored people. It was unlawfully placed between July and October of 2016. They figured that out through Maxar satellite images. And then, like we talked about, 4 men removed it, took it down, and the man that was in charge of that, Mr. Slackline, Andy Lewis, and I think the reasoning was they didn't want trash in the desert. They didn't want stuff out there. They're like nature guys.
Right.
The-
It's not a KFC bucket.
No, yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is,
They
yeah.
should probably leave it alone.
Yeah,
But
and I couldn't believe that. I hope he does send me the pictures, David, about how it was in the ground with silicone around it. Like they thought about how they were going to do that.
yeah, when he said it was cut into the rock, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm picturing guys out there with like a big, one of those big like cement saws.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
They had to have.
Yeah.
So they brought out a bunch of tools and stuff, and then I wonder if they had that put together already or if they assembled it out there. Probably had it put
Right.
together already, I'm assuming. But I can't believe no one's came forward. I can't
yeah, I
believe
don't
no one's
know.
came forward yet.
I'd be
Isn't
worried, I
it
guess.
weird that it's made with like wood and stuff? Like I don't know if it was all metal.
Well,
That'd
if
be-
it was a giant solid piece like everyone thought of, just like a monolith, an actual fully, like who even knows how heavy that would be. But if that was the case,
Yeah,
I think
steel.
it would be probably pretty hard to, like everyone would think it's aliens, I think.
Oh yeah,
Everyone
you
would think
need
it's
a
The
crane-
wood
you need a
ruins
crane
it.
to put it up.
Yeah, you would need something unbelievable. And I don't know what the one in Romania was. We should look at the picture of that quick before we
How
move
big
on.
did he say it
It's
was?
12 feet high. I
12
think.
feet.
They had 9.5. I'm not sure what he said. The government said it was 9.5 foot.
Was that from ground or from?
Oh, true, because he did go under.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. Yeah, probably with
Okay.
the extra. Let's see if I can find a picture of the Romanian one, because I don't know if you even saw a picture of it, Trent, yet. With the
I
Romanian.
just saw a quick one when you were rolling by it.
Yeah, it does look different than the one. It looks more, like he said, like it grinded down. Maybe I can't even pull up a better picture of it here, but grinded down steel.
Like they welded it, and then,
Yeah.
so it doesn't have.
Yeah, built better than the Utah one. It's kind of hard to see, but you can kind of tell there it's kind of scratched up. But same
Okay.
idea. And I didn't know it was on private property, though. That's
I
very.
can see it right over there. It's
This
got all
one,
the
like,
little,
yep. Yeah, you can tell they like.
yeah.
Go to the Utah one quick.
You don't know what the Utah one looks like?
Utah
I
one's
mean, I
smooth.
haven't looked into it too much, to be honest.
It just looks like. I mean, it's super cool looking.
Yeah.
Like it looks straight up out of.
It's like polished.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
Yeah, it's like
it's
from
like
the movie,
It
right?
is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Hey, is Ethan those guys in the picture with it, or are those the ones that took it?
nope. There's the government workers here. The original people that found it were helicopter surveyors of bighorn sheep on November 18th. So it's been a while now since this has all gone down.
What department? Is that Department of Parks?
The Department of, I think it was National Parks or whatever.
Looks like a pretty dope picture,
Department of
though,
the
them
Interior?
with their full body
Yeah,
suits.
something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Here's the picture. These are the last guys to get pictures of it before it was taken down by the 4 men. They have pictures of the guys taking it, whatever. Very interesting stuff, though. It looks straight out of like Star Wars, or
It's fun.
it's interesting. But it leads us into the topic of weird things going on, and I want to bring up this article first here. To you, Trent. Pentagon has off-world vehicles not made on this Earth.
Yep.
So this is officially out.
And apparently they've had these since like the 50s.
Yeah. How come we're just
Long
hearing
time.
about this now?
Because we didn't have media back then. I mean, the only media you had was tightly controlled. You had like probably 4 stations, maybe like a handful of national papers.
Yeah.
And they were just as tightly controlled back then as they are now. But it was more of, I think it was more of like this. We're gonna tell you what's interesting, and kind of control what the public is consuming.
My question is, why have more government people not came forward? Like you have like a Bob Lazar type,
Right.
And then how come more guys like that?
Well, back in I think it was 2001. Is his name Robert Greer? I think Dr. Greer. Anyway, this guy is like
I can look it up too.
he's kind of like the leading expert on all of this stuff, as well as all the cover-up papers and stuff. Is that it? I think that might be it.
Mystery writer, novels, events. Robert physician.
He is a physician, but that's not. Look up, type in unacknowledged. That's that one that I was telling you about to watch.
Oh yeah. No, how do you even? I'm spelling this wrong now.
But he,
An
yeah.
expose of the world's. Was it Stephen M. Greer?
Yep, that's it. Stephen
Okay,
M.
so
Greer.
Stephen M. Greer. He came out with information.
So he put together basically a group, a board of people who all were willing to speak about this stuff. And I think it was 2001.
Really?
And they did it was kind of like an unveiling to the world because he kept trying since probably the 1980s, I think, to get the government to let everybody know that this stuff's real and this stuff's actually happening. And he has a mountain of evidence. I mean, the CIA, prior to him releasing some of these films and prior to a lot of the, I guess, exposure
Or leaks or whatever.
yeah, they're dumping documents on the internet available for us to look through, just so that it is released before he releases it. You know what I mean? So that they can kind of say, well, it's been
He's blackmailing him a
dealt
little
with.
bit. He's saying if you don't or if you don't drop it, I'm gonna drop information. Or is it
Well,
more
I
just
think
they
he
want to
just
beat
said-
him to it?
Yeah, I think he just sees like, you know what, I'm telling everybody because he has tons of info. He's got tons of people that he's dealt with over the years at all of these crazy installations who have seen these crafts, who have apparently seen alien bodies from the original crash out in
Roswell.
Roswell area.
Where we have it right behind you there. RAF captures flying saucer on ranch in Roswell region.
Yeah, so apparently
interesting.
Is that an original paper there?
If that's the paper, it must be an alien paper because it's pretty small.
that's right. That was on somebody's placemat.
Yeah.
The Bob's Big Boy.
What are they doing with this stuff though? Are they like reverse
So-
engineering?
So I don't know fully if they've reverse engineered it. I mean, there's also crazy stories about them actually being gifted vehicles from alien species. You know what I
Really?
mean? Yeah. Like it's crazy to
It
say
is,
this
it
stuff.
is, yeah.
Some of it seems very, very real. Like it is very real. It could be very real. And some of it's kind of far fetched.
Yeah.
But I think we've all been trained to think that it's far fetched.
That is, yeah, true.
I mean, ever since you started learning about aliens,
Yeah.
there's a narrative that's
Yeah.
basically been programmed into us. You know what I mean? So, like in that documentary or whatever, Unacknowledged, he talks a lot about how we've all been programmed to think that it's a security risk, whereas his experience with aliens has always been positive, and he actually has developed an entire series of ways that you can communicate and make these things show up based on
What?
psychic power. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you mean by show up? Like
Like-
form in front of you?
So he'll put together these groups. I'll figure out the name. I think it's called CE5 is his group or project. CE5 Contact.
CE5.
But he'll put together these groups of people who are heavy into meditation, heavy into psychic energy, and they'll go out to these different places on the planet, and they'll set up these groups where they'll meditate, and they'll kind of reach a spot in their meditation where they can then project or astrally project. And it's incredible how much footage they have of like ships showing up.
Really?
They just show up.
Really?
It's incredible.
We need
it's
Jack
incredible
here,
stuff.
Ethan, with his.
I was gonna say-
meditation.
I guarantee he's seen all these films. It's crazy. They're all in Prime right now. So I've
Really?
been going through them. Yeah.
Huh. And okay, so there's a couple things here. First of all, we talked to a psychologist on the podcast a couple episodes ago, and we talked a lot about paranormal. But this kind of all, some of it kind of comes together in points. Her explanation was that people have these like preconceived notions about what an alien looks like or what a ghost looks like. So when some unexplainable occurrence happens, we tend to put it on things that we've known or heard or grew up program culture.
Yep.
Does that take away from the alien things or does that, because every time you hear about somebody seeing an alien or something, it sounds like a movie thing, you know what I mean? Or is that
Right.
just because that's what we know?
And that's how we relate to it.
Relate to it, yeah.
So
Yeah.
if we've never, so whatever comes up, if it's something that we haven't dealt with before, the first thing we're going to do is fall back on whatever that recognition heuristic that we have is, where it's programmed to what's the closest thing I can relate this to so I can make sense of it.
Yeah.
And then
True.
you project that on whatever you're trying to make sense of.
Yep.
It's happened probably for thousands of years.
Oh,
with
yeah.
different things related to religion, and we just kind of project whatever our base understanding is, or the closest thing we can compare it to, on this thing that we don't understand.
Yeah. Well, and now with this article and everything, it's almost like you cannot debate whether or not the government has their hands on this. Like with the Pentagon releasing this information, and for anybody that wants to know, this article came out in, what was this? 2020, July of 2020.
Yep.
And so. Also, they have the footage on here, the TikTok UFO footage.
And that footage has actually been out longer than that.
Yeah, I think it was, 2016?
Yeah.
But I think the footage was from earlier than that, and that was when it was declassified.
Right.
Which is interesting that they held on to it for, they don't know what it is, and I can't think of the guy's name that was the pilot there that was tracing this, and he said it went from 40,000 feet to like zero in like a second.
And it's making like 180-degree moves that are just beyond our physics, or beyond our understanding of physics.
Yeah. So it's like you can't argue that there's not something out there. People argue, could it be Russia or China with this extreme technology that they're not letting the rest of the world know about, and that they're building these things that we just think are aliens because they're so technologically advanced.
So there is apparently two types of UFOs. There's like the real deal, and then there's our UFOs. And I think it's called Project Bluebeam.
Bluebeam.
And I think that's something that's been talked about for a while, where they're talking about socially engineering everybody in a way to. Well, they basically, I think they want to use these crafts to scare everybody that there's some kind of alien invasion, and socially engineer to unite the planet against this thing. And
what?
Yeah, and the New World Order basically steps in. You know what I mean?
So it's like a global government.
Well, essentially, there is a global shadow government.
But this movement is using
Project Bluebeam, I think, is it is the actual usage of these things to scare people on a level that's not true, so that they can socially control us into believing that we're actually being invaded by aliens.
Really?
But there are real aliens, apparently. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there's something. I don't know. I'm not gonna. It's hard for me just to jump right to alien or whatever, because it sounds so far fetched. I want to believe.
Well, if the universe is, I think the universe is 14.5 billion years old.
14.5 billion.
And I think Earth is only about 4. So there's quite a few other cultures out there that would have billions of years of head start on us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so hard to think about billions and billions of years.
Do you think about having an extra billion years with
It's a long time. Yeah.
how much technology will we have in another billion years?
What happened to it? Are they just so far away that we can't? You know what I mean? Like, how come we're not getting more stuff going on with them?
I think, well, according to all the stuff that I've watched about it, it seems like it's dangerous for them to be here because there's a faction of our government that are trying to shoot them down. Like, there's actually footage of one of them evading some kind of energy weapon.
Really?
Yeah, that was shot at it, you know?
So we're more worried about a threat of attack than discovery.
I think some of the Black Ops programs, they are the ones that are concerned or trying to push this, military-industrial complex notion that it's dangerous, whereas like some of these people, their experience with them has only been peaceful. That guy, is it Stephen Greer? Is that what his name was?
Yep, Stephen Greer.
Yeah,
Yep.
So he's actually had like full-on like physical contact with ethereal beings, like aliens or whatever. You know what I mean?
Does he have any proof or video or photos or anything?
He's got tons of videos of this stuff, and he actually has
Of
some
aliens?
quick photos. Yeah, of aliens.
Really? Can we see this, or is it all in the documentary?
I haven't even looked at it online, so I just know I watched the documentary last night. It was just unbelievable.
What do these things look like? Because one of the things that I was reading was like Nordic they're Nordic and then gray aliens. Like the Nordic ones look like Nordic people.
Well, there's supposed to be lots of different races of,
Yup.
you know what I mean? They think there's between 2 and 6 alone in our Milky Way galaxy. Like,
Different
just in our Milky
kinds.
Way.
Different
Yeah.
kinds. Really.
He did have one picture that was like a really quickly taken. Those are just the things that were supposed to be from the Roswell crash, but they actually had it. There it is.
Which one?
That right there.
This
you're
one?
on. Yep.
Photo.
It's not a very good photo of it, but that's something that just appeared that when they're sitting out in the desert.
Oh, that was okay. That was a picture of like the sky. Let me go back to that.
No, that's actually like on a hillside. The thing just appeared. It's a terrible picture of it. There's actually a better one in the
documentary.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's one of those things where it's like you want them to have like, you want to go for like the thing where like, oh, the alien's sitting across the table eating dinner with me. Like you want it to be like,
right, like
you know,
Star Wars
it's
or
right.
something.
Yeah, it's like the alien is like you can like talk to it and like.
So the other thing that they think too is that in order for them to travel, like if we were just go to our closest star, that's like, you know what? Light,
Oh my gosh.
millions, like 2 million light years away.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? So if you were to travel at the speed of light, it would take us 2 million years to get there. So how are they doing this? So they're either traveling faster than light, which we don't have an understanding of that yet.
No.
Or it's a total like psychic projection. So they're either like it's something that they're creating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the remote viewing thing.
Yeah.
Like are they
Yep.
essentially using some kind of like remote viewing power to show up and do it? You know,
Huh.
and control all these vehicles and stuff. Like it's pretty incredible stuff. You got to just watch some of these documentaries.
I do.
And just check them
Yeah.
out.
I'm
You get lost in it.
100%. I'm curious though about the blue beam thing. Interested more in that. So that was using aliens as a threat, not necessarily using real aliens, right?
Right. So it's essentially like they've built these crafts, you know what I mean,
Yep.
that we're using.
Yep.
Apparently, you know, in these dark projects.
Yep.
And they want to simulate an alien invasion in order to socially engineer people in a way that we will do whatever they want in order to fight this thing. You know what I mean? And apparently, anyone who's actually had contact with these things says that it couldn't be farther from that. So they're almost like they're hijacking this idea before we can understand what it's about, and they're saying this is bad, and this is what we need to do, and we need your money, and we need and we need you to listen, and you know we're taking over, you know. So you should look it up. I think it's called Project Bluebeam.
I think I was on something about it before. I kept bringing up this name. I'm not sure. Where was I on? That was on another one. Project Bluebeam. There it is right here. It kept bringing up a name, Serge Monast. Is that somebody that was a part of it or something? Investigative journalist, poet, and conspiracy theorist. He is known to English-speaking readers mainly for Project Bluebeam.
He was born in 1945.
Wow, yeah. Does this sound like it was part of that at all? I'm trying to see here.
I don't remember his name, but they briefly mention. I don't know if they even call it Project Bluebeam in the documentary, but they do briefly mention there are two types of UFOs. There's the real ones, and then there's ours.
What do you mean by that? Between the real ones and ours, like the government creating,
right. The ones that the government possesses.
Yeah,
you know, with whatever technology that we farmed from the crashes.
Yeah, which is what Bob Lazar would be working
exactly.
on. Which is interesting because he might have the most credible thing of all. Like he was working at Project 50 or Area 51,
Area
not Project.
51.
Yeah, Area 51. Reverse engineering this gravitational device. I don't know if you watched some of his interviews.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff.
It is amazing stuff. And there's other. So that news conference that they put together in 2001 with Stephen Greer, who he put it together. He had a whole panel of people that all were like Bob Lazar's.
Really?
They all worked in these special programs and all had real information. And to listen to them speak, I mean, these people are. It's the real
qualified
deal.
people.
Yeah, it's the real deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's incredible that anyone would go to that length and they're not earning a buck off of it.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
Like, it's incredible that they would go to that length for, you know, character assassination, not to mention whatever trouble they could get in with these Black Ops programs. You know, I'm sure it's heavily classified stuff.
Yeah.
And they're risking all of that to let the public know that whatever narrative they're pushing is not correct, and that it's actually this. It's actually this peaceful, like this peaceful connection.
Yeah.
And they're hoping that, you know, a lot of these hidden technologies that the elites and government have kept from us all these years will hopefully come about and change our civilization for the better.
Yeah.
But
and while you're talking
apparently
about character assassination, they were really ripping Bob Lazar apart, like going back and like I think they erased his like birth certificate. Like,
Are you familiar with William Cooper?
no,
So he wrote a book called Behold a Pale Horse, and he was worked in naval intelligence forever. That book's a cult classic. You got to check that out. It's been out forever.
what's it called?
Behold a Pale Horse
Behold a Pale Horse
by William Cooper. And he talks about all this stuff. I mean, I read that. God, I read that when I was in like 9th grade, maybe back in like the early 90s.
Yeah, it came out in 91.
Yeah, and he's talking about the Kennedy assassination and naming
Really?
names and all kinds of stuff that's come out. It turned out to be correct. And
Really?
this is like
Did he predict
years and years ago.
COVID-19?
There are apparently documents that predicted COVID and like predicted what's coming next,
Oh yeah,
like a government plan that things are like set in motion to.
I've seen patent listings for COVID-19, like whether they're vaccinations or tests from 5 years ago,
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
floating around on the internet.
Isn't it weird how this stuff, when you say this stuff, you get like immediately, oh, these guys are crazy. Like they don't know what they're talking about.
It's
you know?
because they've just done such a great job
the
programming
media,
everybody.
it's like you can't ask questions, you can't dig deeper,
Nope.
you can't like know, you can't not even know, but you can't even ask, you can't
Yep.
even wonder what if there were to be something we should know about. Isn't
And-
that crazy?
Yeah, everybody thinks that like for some reason every government on earth is out for our best interest. That's
Yeah,
horseshit. I
right.
mean, you
Oh,
know what
yeah.
I mean? Like,
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
believe that, I got a bridge to sell you. You know?
It's crazy, yeah. And where I was going with the Bob Lazar thing was they completely make him as, like, what do you call that? Discreditable, or
discredited.
they discredit him and make him like this lie. Oh, he lied and he divorced his wife and he was going to these strip clubs all the time. Like they made up all this
So?
stuff. Yeah, yeah,
don't
yeah.
give a shit.
They make it if they make it sound like if this guy was so smart, why was he doing all this sketchy stuff or whatever? It's just like, I don't know.
Ben Franklin was a hound. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh, yeah,
Benjamin Franklin was a hound.
Big
Like-
strip club guy.
Yeah, basically he was like the original ladies' man back
Really?
in the day. Yeah. So I mean, he's one of
Tipping
the
the top
smarter.
hat a little too far.
He's one of the smarter guys that I think that we really know about from our time in history then. And he was a ladies' guy. He liked to party. He liked big, extravagant parties, and so that has nothing to do with your intelligence level.
No.
No.
It's just the things that the media, the government, and I don't know who was behind it, if it was both. The ways that they'll go to make sure that this
the smear.
information, the smear campaigns of
Look
these
at how
people.
many CIA operatives are in the media. They have them at every single major network and publication,
Yep.
and they basically control or manipulate what they allow out. I mean, they've been doing it forever.
It's almost like a communist country a little bit.
Look up Operation Mockingbird.
Operation Mockingbird. Yeah, we're going to all these. Someone's gonna need to have their laptop open at home here and going through all this stuff too. There's so much information here, and the fact that you remember all these different operations, projects, like I couldn't.
I don't have a lot of friends.
Stop. All right, so
I read a lot.
Operation. Everyone should probably read a little bit more.
They should.
Operation Mockingbird is an alleged large-scale program of the United States Central Intelligence Agency that began in the early years of the Cold War and attempted to manipulate news media for propaganda purposes.
Not attempted.
It actually happened.
They're doing it now.
I've heard about this.
They're
a
doing it
little
now.
bit. Explain a little bit what the process is for that then.
So, and they do it with government too. They basically take agents or people who are rotating out of the agency.
Yep.
And they figure out new paths and jobs for them. So, how many people who are running for local political seats, or even like state political seats? How many of those people are former agents who are just planted by the by the CIA or the NSA or whoever?
Yeah.
That then they have a
They can talk and pitch things in the way they want to go.
they can basically manipulate however they can as an asset to the agency.
This what came out during the Cold War to push. What kind of propaganda were they trying to do then? If this is an actual thing,
Anything you could imagine. Soviets are bad. Soviets are bad. U.S. is good. They have these bad things that are coming for us, but we're making these good things, to protect us. Like any kind of propaganda that they would want to program you with to make you more, I guess, nationalistic, patriotic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever their end goal is, for social or engineering.
Yeah.
That's what they would push. I mean, they still do it. Why do you think there's so much fake news?
Oh yeah,
and they're not even
crazy.
like
it's crazy.
They used to be a lot better at it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now they just put it out. Whatever percentage of people know it's fake, they don't care.
Yeah.
They want this percentage that believes it. They want those people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's a big enough percentage, then they can keep pushing these lies, and eventually it becomes the truth.
Yep.
I mean, you could print anything, and if you eventually have to make a correction and say this is not true, well, the headline's this big, the correction's this big on page 12.
Oh yeah.
Nobody gets it.
100%.
So eventually you're writing a historical narrative that never took place, and everyone just eats it up because that's all they know.
Yep, 100%. And right now it's really good until Twitter and Facebook got a little bit too involved. But with the independent journalists and how they can put out information, it's like the best time ever to get actual like straight to the person. Like you can hear directly from the president, you can hear directly from whoever.
Absolutely. And I know people hate when Trump tweets, but it's how he circumvents the media.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, the
but
fake news or
Twitter
whatever.
and Facebook kind of are limiting who they, there's definitely a push for a liberal bias on these social media platforms, and they're getting called out for it a little bit.
The problem is nothing's happening to stop it.
No.
And I mean,
Can they do anything technically? Because you're on their platform, can you do anything?
Well, it depends on whether they are labeled a publisher or not. So if they're controlling content, then they would be considered a publisher. And the way Congress looks at that is that if you're a publisher, then you now have you have free speech regulations.
Oh.
If it's a private platform, you're just allowing people to do whatever.
Yep.
And you're not controlling information that's being allowed to be published. Then you're outside of the free speech scope of the Constitution. But if they're publishers, they can be held liable as keeping a free speech environment.
Yep.
And they've had I mean, I don't know if you've seen any of the congressional hearings.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is that why they're
going?
going?
Wasn't Mark Zuckerberg and all them in court?
And the CEO of Twitter, Jack Dorsey.
Yeah.
He was there too.
Dorsey bin Laden.
Yeah.
that big ugly
He's got
beard.
the huge beard now, yeah.
It doesn't even look good.
They're kind of getting called out for it, for everything going on.
They should be.
Rightfully so, yeah.
They should be called out by liberals too. I mean, just because like, if your side, whoever you align yourself with politically, if they're doing bad things that hurt America, you still need to call them out.
Oh, 100%,
you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
it doesn't matter if they're doing it for your side of the coin or whatever. It's still hurting the
still
country.
affecting the country.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're never gonna probably get over the liberal bias of media. It's just a thing that's there. Like how do you take that out of the picture?
Everybody's there now. I mean, Fox has even switched over. They're a much more liberal network now.
True.
I mean, they were owned by the Disney Corporation.
Oh, really?
So I don't know who owns them right now.
That's another interesting thing. These monopolies that are coming up. Like Disney. With how much they own.
All of our major media is only owned by 6 companies.
Really?
Whereas in, I believe it was 70s, it was over 50.
Wow.
So it's consolidated quite a bit. Mm-hmm. And we're down to this, it makes it even more effective for agencies to have plants and assets that are pushing, controlling, censoring, putting out stuff that's not true.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. How do you balance a love for the United States with a hatred for like control? You know what I mean? Like how, because I want to love this country so much because we're built on so many good things, but then you have government programs and government people and government things going on that are overreaching their bounds, overstepping their bounds, and doing bad things that aren't for the good of the American people. It's like, how do you balance that out to be a patriotic person but still skeptical of what they do?
So there's 2 groups apparently. You've got the white hats and the black hats. The white hats are all the people who are working for us and working for our government, working for the people, trying to control and either expose, snuff out, work against these dark players, like the deep state, you would call it, I guess.
Yeah.
But even the deep state has, they've got far-reaching arms. So they've got dark programs everywhere that nobody even knows about. You know? We were talking about, hoping Trump would have like released some info on like aliens or shed some light on stuff. And it's a really interesting point that I saw in one of these programs where they were talking about the presidential position while we are all programmed to look at it as the highest office in the land. It's a temp job. You know what I mean? They're a temporary employee.
Yep.
So they're not always privy to all the information.
No.
The longest they can work for us is 8 years.
8 years.
So they're really like, it's a revolving door. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how much of it is a figurehead position, like the Queen of England. You think she's got power? I mean,
she's so old,
You know what I mean? But like that oligarchy is like it's kind of hard to believe they exist. Whereas while Parliament, like the parliamentary power is actually where the seat of government is, but they still allow this royal thing to happen.
Very weird.
But they don't control the whole country from one seat. You know what I mean?
It's almost as if there's a front. They're like the front, and there's stuff going on. You know what I mean? Like
They're
is just
like
a
our
show.
Hollywood.
Yeah. It's
You know
like a
what I mean?
show. And so I'm assuming then there are people, and obviously this is a thing. It has to be. There are people that have more power than any of these presidents and world leaders. There's a group that kind of orchestrates what kind of goes on, and they kind of know everything what's going on.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just
one of the best examples are all of the world banks. The countries that we have the most issues with, they don't have national banks. Like they don't have world banks. So like North Korea, Iran, I don't think there's one in Syria.
Really?
I think Libya doesn't have one. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
And so, who's fighting for these countries to either open or keep them closed? I don't know if we talked about it last time, but I'm a firm believer that North Korea is the world's largest black site. And whoever actually owns that country, which I don't believe it's Kim Jong-un, I believe he's just a player. Whoever actually owns that country, they can go in there and do whatever they want. I mean, that's...
What do you mean black site?
So the CIA and some of these intelligence groups they'll set up these sites that don't exist. They're called black sites.
Was this kind of what you were sending me in Antarctica or whatever, North Pole, like where it was like a big area and like they were zooming in and it looked like all these weird things?
Yeah, that's Antarctica.
Really?
Here's something crazy about Antarctica that I just read today. John Kerry?
Yep.
John Kerry, in 2016, for the election, he went down to Antarctica for some reason. Guess where he was?
What?
Yeah, guess where he was for this election?
Antarctica?
He went down to Antarctica. So what the hell's going on? That's really weird, and it's weird that it's public information.
How you can? This is a public thing you can look up. John Kerry was in Antarctica.
Yeah, actually, let me find it. I'll find the screenshot of the tweets.
What is there even anything down there to visit?
Oh yeah, there's yeah.
Really?
We're not allowed to go there.
Really?
Yeah.
So if you want to get in a plane, you can't go.
Can't go
to Antarctica.
Nope. You got to have permission. You got to. There's all kinds of stuff. Yep.
John Kerry lands in Antarctica, highest U.S. official to visit.
And he did it.
November 11th. When's the election?
I was the third.
Third?
Yep.
So this came out after, obviously.
Yep. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
For a 2-day trip. What the hell is he doing down there?
I don't know. We have bases down there.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, he's a hearing for climate change down there in Antarctica. That's where they do all their climate change meetings.
It just happens to coincide with U.S. elections.
Yeah. That's crazy. And he was there again this year?
He was there again.
What's his role in government? John Kerry?
He was...
I'll say he's not anymore, right? But I'm pretty sure Biden's putting him back in.
They've talked about using... I haven't followed as much of the cabinet picks because I haven't wanted to commit that to memory yet. If it's not going to happen or if it is going to happen.
Secretary of State.
Secretary of State.
Secretary of State.
And he's got a bunch of weird stuff, too.
Really?
He's another one of those guys who has either like a son or a nephew or somebody involved with some of the Ukraine energy
Oh, really?
crowd. Yeah.
There's so much like corruption, like things going on in these government officials,
and
It's
we're so
unbelievable.
busy trying to like pay our rent that we can't, we don't
Yeah.
look into it.
We're
So
struggling, and it's like we don't want to look into the
designed that
creepy
way.
things going on. That's what I've always wondered, if they put these like distractions in place. Like there's all these things that
Absolutely.
come up.
Why do you think the NFL gets so much free public money, like taxpayer money?
I didn't know the NFL got free public money.
Yep.
Why? Okay,
a
well,
good
to build.
question.
Are you saying to like to build the stadiums?
They
Like,
build stadiums, they get subsidies.
Yep.
Which is basically public money.
oh yeah. Wow, I never even thought
Yeah,
of
it's
that.
incredible. Why do you think the U.S. military spends so much money on football?
Wow.
It's like one of their biggest recruitment, and so there's this thing. So like when
This
you
is crazy
when,
stuff.
when you buy a car and you see commercials for that car on TV,
Yep.
they're not actually advertising the car. It's to make you feel like you didn't make a bad decision when you bought that car. So it's a psychological reinforcement for those who are behind the vehicle. And
Really?
It's really one of the, and that name recognition. You know what I mean? That's what they're really
Really?
selling. They're not really telling you, hey, come get the whatever. You
Yep.
know what I mean?
Yep.
It's
Wow.
basically saying, hey, you did good. You made the right decision. It's so buyer's remorse doesn't take place.
Wow, they're willing to spend that kind of money just so people don't have like the feeling in their stomach that they made a bad decision.
It keeps it's psychological programming.
That's
I mean, that's what
unbelievable.
all advertising is. I mean, if you think we do that for advertising, what do you think they do in regards to conspiracy theory, government stuff,
Oh, yeah.
programs?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Social engineering is like the biggest weapon on this planet.
Yep.
Why do you think it's such an issue that Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, these massive media companies, they're so controlling and so careful about what gets published?
True. It's unbelievable to me that all this stuff goes on and you never hear anybody talk about it, like what we've been talking about, like the distraction stuff. Like, I mean, go back to this first article here. They're coming out saying, literally, the Pentagon said here, let me go down.
Pentagon.
The Pentagon. Yeah, this is a direct quote from the Pentagon saying that this stuff, it could be came from another country, but it appears to be not made on this planet, is what the words are from the Pentagon.
That's history.
Yeah.
That's like the biggest historical thing that's happened
And you don't hear anything about it. You don't hear
probably
nothing
since World
about
War
it.
II, honestly. And nobody gives it a look.
Yep.
I mean,
Listen to this right here. This is from Harry Reid, the former Nevada senator, instrumental in funding the original UFO program. Told the Times he believes the crashes of objects of unknown origin may have occurred and that retrieved material should be studied. He said, after looking into this, I came to the conclusion that there were reports. Some were substantive, some were not substantive. Am I saying that right? Substantive? Substantive. That they were actual materials that the government and private sector had in their possession.
and that's true.
Yeah,
That's
this
true.
is yeah. Oh, 100%.
There's lots of people that can attest to that.
Oh,
that
yeah.
have attested
Yep.
publicly. To
And
that.
the other weird thing in reading this article, they apparently got rid of the program in 2007.
Sure they
But Popular Mechanics looked into it and figured out it's still being funded and it's still a program that is being operated.
Absolutely.
So they're still looking into it and they're trying to lie.
There's the funding that happens for military and secret programs every year in the annual budget is massive, and they can't track it. They can't track where the money goes.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you remember the day before September 11th, they had a meeting at the Pentagon where they came out and basically said, there's like $2.3 trillion that we cannot account for, that we have no record for. We don't know where it is.
Holy.
And the very next day was 9/11.
Wow. So that I mean, that's a whole other conspiracy too, but the government, the U.S. government, and Trump pushed it too, the budget for military. So you'd think he's got to know where that money's going. Like you'd think that there's got to be something in there where that's why
Hopefully
I'm so surprised.
there's something. But the big thing is too that during the Obama administration, they really dialed back our military.
Yeah.
And one of the big things, it's so funny because it sounds like all we do is crap on the CIA. But one of the big, I mean, we need the CIA. We just need them to be a little more on our side.
Yeah.
One of the big things that happened during that administration is we lost tons of contacts. We stopped. So they place assets in the field. okay, field operatives, and these people live in countries and speak the language. They have jobs.
Yep.
And they may have, objectives. They may have objectives just to hang out in this region and collect info. You know what I mean? When they dialed all that back, we lost our exposure in a lot of places like the Middle East, Libya, Syria.
Wow.
A lot of these countries, like
Yeah.
we lost our people. They basically pulled them out or stopped funding it.
Yeah.
And when that happens, our vision of the world through intelligence is compromised, like big time. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So a lot of that took place, as well as just like the demilitarization of a lot of the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
They stepped down a lot of our programs and stuff, and it's hard to say, because it is politics on one level or another, but it's hard to say, like, was it done for any reason that we're not looking at? You know what I mean? Was it done to allow other countries to become more powerful? Was it done, I'm talking about like the demilitarization.
Yep.
To make us weaker, to make us more exposed, to allow for maybe some kind of coup to take place.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on that's really hard to nail down.
Oh, yeah.
And
100%.
you got to look at some of these bigger pictures, like military spending, and how these different facets feel about it, like whether they're adding to it, taking away from it. Where are these funds going? Is it going to technology? Is it going to these, dark programs?
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of it is, but they can't trace it. You know what I mean?
We should be able to see the budget as
I agree.
citizens. We should be able to look at every dollar spent. I can't believe you can't do that. Like, I
agree,
can't believe
yeah.
that's not a thing. It's unbelievable.
There's like no
National
budget
security.
made up.
There's a budget, but I don't think we have access to it.
We don't have every line item.
No.
You know what I mean?
And
So
like you
it'll-
said, there's 2.3 trillion lost. Like, they don't know where, unaccounted for, where the
Unaccounted for,
money went. That's an unbelievable amount of money. That's like,
Yeah. And
that's unbelievable.
I think that was Donald Rumsfeld that gave that
Really?
talk. So you can look that up too.
Really?
Yeah.
Donald Rumsfeld.
Yep. Donald Rumsfeld. It was just type in like Donald Rumsfeld
2.3.
missing trillion or something like that. Yeah.
Let's see what he says here. Oh, yeah.
Boom.
9/10/2001.
Yep.
I'm not sure if we're going to hear. I might have to grab this thing quick. I can pick this up. It's for everyone. Am I plugging in?
By the military
you guys
poses
hear
a
that?
serious
Yep.
threat.
In fact, it could be said that it's a matter of life and death.
Rumsfeld promised change, but the next day, the world changed.
I think we missed it already.
Yep.
Before 9/11, Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld declared war, not on foreigners.
The adversary is closer to home. It's the Pentagon bureaucracy.
He said money wasted by the military poses a serious threat.
In fact, it could be said that it's a matter of life and death.
Rumsfeld promised change, but the next day, the world changed. And in the rush to fund the war on terrorism, the war on waste seems to have been forgotten.
My 03 budget calls for more than $48 billion in new defense spending.
More money for the Pentagon when its own auditors admit the military cannot account for 25% of
25%?
25%.
Holy.
It's insane.
We're not talking small amounts of money here. I mean,
what does $1 billion look like?
that is
You're asking the wrong guy. You know what I mean?
that's crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And again, something you don't like. I don't know how public, like how many people actually know about this stuff. They don't tell you in school. They're not telling you in school about this stuff.
It's because people are more concerned with watching like makeup videos and the NFL, or you know what I mean? Like, it's all there for a reason. It's
Yep.
there to distract us.
Yep. Here's an interesting one for you. I don't know how much you know. You were telling me about Eisenhower with the yellow box, the yellow book. Doing my research on that, I found that Eisenhower allegedly met with extraterrestrials in 1954, February 20th. He was in, I think it was Miami Beach, Florida, and he left. Here it is right here. President Eisenhower, who had been a 5-star Army general, always had a strong belief in life on other planets. In February of 1954, He was spending several days in Palm Springs on vacation. He disappeared for several hours one Saturday afternoon and even missed a scheduled public dinner. He was not seen again until late the following morning. The press questioned his whereabouts, so the White House press secretary told them he had a chipped tooth, gone to see a dentist. Even at that time, rumors were that he was visiting extraterrestrials at nearby Edwards Air Force Base. The dentist story falls apart upon close inspection. Washington Post staff writer Peter Carlson denies the story of the chipped tooth and calls it a cover-up.
Not surprised.
Apparently, he met with 2 or 3 Nordic aliens. Apparently, that's...
What's really interesting about Eisenhower is that he gave a famous speech that's been used a lot in some of these more undercover communities.
Yeah.
Where he talks about us having to be careful of and wary of the military-industrial complex.
Really?
Yeah. And how dangerous it is for our country and how dangerous it is for America and how it's... You can look that up, too, at some point. But he gives a speech about it. It's when he's leaving office, basically.
Oh, really?
He's saying the one thing you guys really got to get a hold of, that we got to get a hold of, is the military-industrial complex.
Wow.
And it's only gotten bigger since. I mean, that was in the 50s.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
You know,
Well, listen to this. It talks about what they talked about. So the first meeting with the aliens and President Eisenhower occurred at Edwards Air Force Base in February 1954. Navy Commander Charles S. Suggs reported that his father had attended the meeting between Ike and the extraterrestrials. Eisenhower met with 2 Nordic-appearing, blue-eyed extraterrestrials. A third one stood near the door as a lookout. Sounds kind of hard. Sounds crazy. The discussions were polite, like you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Eisenhower wanted to effectuate a treaty with the aliens, but was unwilling to agree to their demand that we cease testing nuclear weapons.
and that keeps coming back. There's a famous occurrence at some of these nuke bases where they had ships appear overhead and literally shut down the missiles completely.
Really?
And it happened at one location, and then it happened like 30 or 40 miles away at another location.
Really?
Where they just came over top of the silos and basically shut the nukes down and made them completely inoperable and useless.
Why would they want that to stop that?
So one of the things that they talk about is when we let off when we started testing the atomic bombs, when we split the atom,
Yep.
that basically all through space is this kind of energy web.
Oh, I bet.
That goes out into the cosmos, and
Yep.
they think that also might be how a lot of the ethereal movement happens. But when we set that off, it kind of started a chain reaction through the cosmos, and it started bringing people or aliens here to see what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
Because these, I would guess most of these civilizations, if they've lasted this long, are probably very peaceful and don't want
What's all that banging over there?
destruction.
Yeah.
And so they probably had to come check and say, you
Yeah.
know, what are you guys doing here?
Yeah.
Like, we
Yeah.
can't have this. You guys have reached a technological advancement, and you're going the wrong way. You should
Yeah.
be going the other way. You know what I mean? So they think that had a lot to do with the increase in visitation from outer space.
Huh.
So
And
it's interesting that's in that article,
I know,
too.
yeah. And it's weird because they talk about other times, not in this article, but there are 2 other times, I believe, when apparently they met with Eisenhower and they came back and talked to him, just trying to push this deal or this treaty to not cause any more. They call it the path of self-destruction,
Yep.
which is, I think people would agree that nuclear weapons will, over time, they could lead to that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen what they're capable of.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And there was stuff built much larger, much worse that hasn't been used really. The atomic bomb was that's like small potatoes now
Probably to what they have.
compared to like hydrogen or some of these massive things.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going the wrong way. I think they, instead of the path of destruction, they want us on the path of light.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that we can join the whatever they want to call it, the
Yeah.
intergalactic community.
Yeah, I have no idea. Yeah. Talk a little bit about, though, the yellow book, the yellow cube.
Oh, so the yellow book. So I don't know a ton about it. I just sent you that article.
Yeah.
But it basically talks about being able to ask it anything, right? About
Yeah. From what I got out of it, and like you talked about earlier, was remote viewing.
Oh, the remote viewing.
Yeah,
thing.
that they could see things in history and go, not like a
So-
time machine, but like,
This is also really interesting. So do you know who Edgar Casey is?
no.
So Edgar Casey is a really famous psychic clairvoyant from, I think, the 1930s. Anyway, he did thousands of readings for people, and he would put himself in a trance, and he could basically, his words, he would basically look into this thing called the acoustic record. And it was the record of space-time, so you could see past, present, future, other places, all these things. You know what I mean? And he would say all the time that everyone's capable of this. And this program that I watched the other night about the remote viewing, they would bring in people with no experience, and these people would have success remote viewing after some training.
Really?
So they say that this remote viewing, this ESP, this like, this energy type thing, psychic thing.
Yeah.
They say that it's like art or music for everybody. You know what I mean? You've got people that are like savants and excel,
Yeah.
and then you have people that can't sing a tune. You know what I mean?
Really?
So there's a stratification of ability, but apparently it's something that's inherent in all of us. It's just not explored. It falls under the whole let's talk down about it so people think you're crazy.
100%.
You know,
I get that, yeah.
Ultimately, from all the stuff that I've been seeing, that seems to be the key, and they're just kind of pushing everybody away from that.
Yeah.
But the remote viewing thing's incredible.
It is, and I tried to look a little bit more into it, but it's like hard to find it, like more information about it almost. Like a lot of these things, and I think it comes out to be true that Google will do what they can to cover up government secrets or whatever.
You got to go with a different, like, have you used DuckDuckGo?
No.
So DuckDuckGo is it's a private search engine. They claim to not, keep a lot of your information. Like all these big conglomerates, they just data farm you.
Oh,
know
yeah,
what I mean?
100%.
Like constantly.
Yep.
And then they also feed you what they want you to see. I mean,
Yep.
I don't know what the number was, but they said that Google has affected the last couple elections and swung the vote by millions just based on what they'll show you when you search.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's social engineering.
It is.
Social programming.
And the craziest part is people think that when you have Google, you have access to the entire internet. I think I've heard somewhere that you only have access to 1% or 2% of the internet. Mm-hmm. The rest is dark web, government.
Yeah,
like
they've selected what you're allowed to see.
Exactly.
Essentially.
Yeah. Even though we think that we live in the United States, it's all free. You can look at whatever you want. You cannot. We will never be able to know what's out there.
No.
There's this huge cover up going on. It's like unbelievable that this hasn't been blown off yet. Like no one knows.
Because people think your average person, they're too busy enjoying their iPhone and their latte and like their new makeup and like football.
There's just so many distractions in the world.
Yeah, it's easier to be a hedonist than to open the box.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Go with the flow.
Yeah.
Then
and
step
then
out of
it's
the way.
and then it's social pressure. You know what I mean? Like how dare you think differently?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're going through a lot of that right now.
Oh,
have been for
100%.
at least 4 years. How dare you think differently?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. How do you overwhelm or how do you get rid of this? You think? Oh, here's another question for you. Do you think we'll ever get rid of the two-party system in our lifetime? Because we had this discussion last podcast,
Right.
or 2 podcasts ago.
I think if Trump loses, you're going to see a third party develop.
That's what I said.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because I think
absolutely.
people are sick and tired of. I don't think Trump's a Republican. I think Trump
No.
is something
He's a
completely different.
populist.
Yeah, I think he is.
He's a businessman.
He
He's
is.
a populist.
He is. Doesn't
he
fit in a
chose-
category, really.
Right. He chose the Republicans because they were less powerful, I think, than the Democrats and
Yeah.
less entrenched in society as a whole. I mean, obviously the media is totally supportive of that liberal
Oh, 100%.
policy.
Yeah, no one's denying that.
Right. And
No
then
one
you
should.
see a lot of these, you're seeing it right now, all the Republicans not backing Trump in this the allegations of fraud investigation.
Yeah.
A good percentage of them are just like, okay, so we got a new president, guys. And it's like, well, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be hashed out here.
Yeah.
And I think most people who are Trump supporters, I don't think that they think that, I think what they want is they just want to know the elections were accurate. So I don't think obviously they're going to be upset if Biden turns out to be the winner.
Yeah.
But if that took place accurately and fairly and ethically, they're okay with that because they want the country to remain intact. Now, I believe that if that doesn't take place, you know what I mean, and it doesn't shake out, the country's over essentially.
Yeah.
You know, these voting machines they got a long history in Venezuela being
Really?
Have you heard?
I haven't heard that. No.
Okay, so these Dominion voting machines.
I'd say Dominion. Yeah.
Dominion, it's it was formerly a Venezuelan-run company, and they have affidavits from people who worked with Chavez, and it was explained to them while they were with Chavez how these programs work to shift votes and to make sure elections happen the way you want them to.
Really?
Which is, in my opinion, that aligns with like CIA-esque stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then Dominion farmed out the writing of the software to this company called Smartmatic. Smartmatic has all these backdoor loopholes and stuff in it. There's too many ways to manipulate it. The servers that contained all of our votes were offshore in like Spain and Germany. Did you guys just hear about the raid in Germany?
That. No. See, I don't hear about any. Does the media cover this? Who covers it? Who covers it? Like, honestly.
So, 4 days ago, a special forces team raided a CIA server farm in Germany, in Frankfurt, and had a shootout. 5 special forces agents were killed.
What?
And at least 1, if not 2, CIA agents were killed in this shootout. They descended upon the server farm and grabbed up the servers so that they have the documentation and information. So it was a national security kind of thing. But nobody hears about this.
Why the hell are our votes in another country?
Exactly.
That's
why are the votes in another country? Why are they using these machines that were helped use in Venezuela to create dictatorships? Mm-hmm. Why are there so many backdoor holes in the code? Some of the greatest computer statistics analysts have come forward and said that what's happened is not statistically possible. And I mean, there's hundreds of people coming forward with affidavits and stuff.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
It's insane, and it's not being reported.
No, not at all.
And like I said, whoever wins, as long as it happens correctly and accurately, and the freedom is still there, and it's not being decided for everybody else.
Yep.
That's a good result.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Whoever wins.
Yeah. 100%.
But if they're subverting the country, well, how many of our elections has this happened in?
That's what I want to know.
Trump tweeted back in 2012 when Mitt Romney was running against Obama that people were reporting of their votes being changed on the computers in front of them from Romney to Obama.
Really?
Dominion's been in play for, I think, since like the early 2000s.
Oh, really? I don't know too much about it.
Right now, they're trying to figure out who owns Dominion, and they can't figure it out.
What?
Somebody was just paid out of a Swiss bank account through these Dominion connections. This bank account's tied to China.
Where are you hearing all this information from? Because this sounds like it should be
the interwebs.
Accurate though. Like
they're accurate sources.
They're backing up. They have proof and everything.
Yeah.
Because I feel like right now, the media is so quick to just say, "All right, Biden, president, everyone quiet, whatever."
Yeah, they just swept it all in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's what's so fishy to me is that. Well, if it took place the way you say it took place, then let's just do the audit and Biden wins and we start the next 4 years.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
How come you don't want anybody looking at it? How come you kept all of the people that were supposed to be observing out of the room or
covered the windows?
Yeah. How come you told everybody that you stopped counting votes and the second they left, you started counting votes again?
Yeah.
Right.
There are statistical anomalies in how many of these votes could be fed through a machine in a certain amount of time. There's no way that they could feed 400,000 votes in a 2 to 3 hour period through these machines.
And that's what they're finding?
And that's what they're finding.
Wow.
They're finding some of these programs, for every vote Trump gets, he ends up with 70 or 75%, and the other 25 gets switched over to Biden.
Really?
Through the programming.
I hope they can prove this in court and do what they got to do, because it's not about who's the president. It's about trusting the process about
Trusting the government.
trusting the
It's
vote,
about-
that
it's
your
about
vote
us
counts.
having a country. still,
Exactly.
you
I think
know?
everybody, no matter what side you should be on, would say,
I mean, we're seeing Democrats come forward and tell people, say, look, stuff happened bad. Like, this didn't go right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I saw all kinds of fraud.
"Yep,
You know, they were bringing out stacks of printed ballots.
Yep.
That were just, they found like a stack of like, God, I don't know, it's like 6,000 with the same 3 initials signed on it.
really?"
Yeah.
There's so many weird
It's a lot of
things.
anomalies.
My theory on the whole thing is, I don't think there's a conspiracy to not get Trump elected again. I think there are dozens and thousands of individual groups of people that hate Trump so much that they're all doing their own thing, and then in the end it all worked out, and it's sounding like it's to be one giant conspiracy, but I think it's a bunch of individual groups of people that had ill intentions, and that now it's starting to feel like it's all one big group when they probably didn't know that the other groups were doing it.
So there's some stuff that they're finding out that's happening consistently in all these different locales.
Oh, really?
Like the big one is stopping the count at a certain time, or pretending to stop the count at a certain time.
And then
Yep.
they keep
and
going.
then all of a sudden you get a flood of like 300,000 ballots at 3 a.m.
That was the craziest part.
And that happened in 5 different states. So
And
Is
was
it-
the key states, the swing states, right? Because we were waited up. We were up till 2:30 on election night watching, and we went to bed saying Trump's president again, and there was no doubt about it. Woke up in the morning and it was completely flip flopped.
Yep.
And that was between the hours of like 2:30 and like 10 a.m.
Yep.
And then it was like. And of course, when we went to bed, it was like 5 states were left counting. And it was only the 5 states that mattered the most.
And there were the 5 states that shut down the night before
Yep.
for some arbitrary no reason.
I don't
really,
have
you know
any
what I mean?
idea. They're been
And-
working all day. Well,
Right.
yeah, get more people. Like, do it.
And
Like,
then they were the ones that all of a sudden had tons of votes show up.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so
It's weird. It's strange.
something's bad there.
Something's going on.
And
100%.
I don't care what, how you fare politically. That's a security issue for our country. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
That's really, really bad.
Yeah.
Like there's no other way you can cut that. And what's upsetting is, I mean, there are lots of people on both sides that say this is wrong. We need to fix this.
Yeah.
But it's upsetting to see people who are like totally happy with it happening just because it suits their purpose. That's not right.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, I'm not too surprised by that.
I mean, I'm
because
not either, but it's
yeah.
disgusting.
It is. It's horrible. And I mean, it'd be tough to say that if it were flip flopped, that it wouldn't be the same situation.
Well, there would be people absolutely that would be like, sure, yeah, we'll take the cheating. You know what I mean?
Uh huh. Yeah.
That's disgusting too.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I
Like
would
said,
just.
whoever
yeah,
wins,
exactly.
as long as it
Yep.
happened real,
Yep.
like accurately,
Yep.
and truthfully,
Yep.
then that's what it is.
Exactly, yeah. And it's for the better of this country that people can depend and trust the voting system we have in place.
It's more important that our country is in one piece and still active and not being run by a deep state, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's also really scary that a lot of these people that Biden's starting to surround himself with are exactly what he was campaigning against. You know, it's a lot of Wall Street people. It's a lot of people who have ties to China, ties to Ukraine. It's really interesting.
Just the same political games that were going on.
Yeah, it's almost hilarious. It's like, in a way, it's like I really, really wonder how many people that actually did vote for Biden believed what they were selling, or if they really just did it just to
hate Trump.
Just to hate Trump.
Never Trumpers, 100%.
Yeah.
I think if it weren't for COVID, I think 100% Trump would have won. Without, even if there was all this fraud, I think the numbers would have just been too much to wear.
Somehow Biden won 80 million votes. That's like 12 million more than Barack Obama won.
I know.
The most popular president in modern history.
It is most votes ever.
First black president. A lot of people got behind that.
Oh, Obama. Yeah,
Obama.
Yeah.
So how did a guy who wrote the 94 crime bill that locked up, that basically championed the 94 crime bill that basically incarcerated millions of black people.
Yep.
Said he didn't want his kids to go to school in a racial jungle. He's been in government for 47 years, hasn't really ever accomplished anything.
Yeah.
Is not really mentally stable based on everything we've seen. Didn't really spend any time campaigning, spent the whole time in his basement. Couldn't get more than 15 people to show up to a rally. When he'd do an online rally, he'd get less than 1,000 people. How did he get 80 million
Crazy,
votes?
yeah.
It
It's
just doesn't
crazy.
make sense.
No.
It doesn't add up.
You could add the never Trump people in there, and I still don't think that we're getting to that.
There's no way
no way.
that they
No.
all voted for Biden too.
No.
No.
They had actually there was a I think it was the Trump legal team had I don't remember where that took place. Is it Pennsylvania? Anyway, they had a thing, a press conference, and when they were reading out when some of this stuff was going down, it was like 300,000 votes for Biden, 3,000 for Trump.
I know, it's unbelievable.
In one batch.
Yeah.
That's just not
Yeah.
possible.
Well,
That's
if
not
anyone,
statistically possible.
no one should believe that.
Yeah.
No one should be able.
I
to
would
believe-
hope
no.
they wouldn't believe it.
But they do. It's
or it's just convenient that it suits their purposes.
that's what I'm thinking. If you're on the side of just like we got to do whatever we can to get Trump out of here, then this happens. You're just like, I don't even care. Just like get him out. Like tell him to shut up. Let's just get Trump out of here and we'll move on. And that is completely defeating the purpose of voting. Then why do we vote? What's the point of voting?
How interesting was it that all those major media networks, they called the election even though it wasn't done?
Oh yeah, Fox was the first one to call.
Fox.
I think they called Florida and then flipped it.
And they called Arizona like before they even finished voting.
Yeah,
You know
I
what
heard
mean?
that, which
Yeah.
is crazy because people might have saw that on TV and been like, "Well, I'm not even gonna. What's the point of
Exactly.
voting?"
It's all manipulative.
Yeah.
It's all really serious engineering and mind games.
We're doomed.
We
We're
really are.
doomed.
So there's a huge battle going on right now in our own government between these secret agencies. And like I said, you've got the white hats and you've got the black hats.
Mm.
So you have people who are for our freedoms, our government, our constitution, our way of life,
Yeah.
essentially. And then you have this other group that's, trying to subvert our constitution, working behind the scenes, probably working with international players and money, black money.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's been happening.
Oh, I believe it.
It's
yeah,
been happening. I
and
mean-
it's gonna keep happening.
That little altercation in Frankfurt is a big. It's just incredible that that's public
I
news.
can't believe that I never heard about that before. That's unbelievable. Why didn't they want them to get the votes or whatever? What was the deal there? What was going on?
So if all the votes went to that offshore place where they're being stored, they want that information so they can basically go through it and try and figure out how it was manipulated. They also figured out that on November 3rd, all those voting machines were hooked up to the internet.
Really?
Yeah. So countries like Iran, China,
Yep.
they had internet access to our voting.
That doesn't make any sense.
No. Why do our votes get tallied somewhere else? Why are we using multiple types of voting machines?
Yeah.
Dominion's just one type.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Texas. So here's the interesting thing. Texas, they did a review of the Dominion system, and they said, no, we don't want that. But the one that they did select, I think the software was still written by Smartmatic.
Oh, really?
So even in Texas,
Yep.
they still got them.
It's crazy that we talked about this too. Why can't we have something more technologically advanced in 2020? We were talking about like doing it on your phone. Now, I mean, you can go into all kinds of things about that getting hacked. But if it takes a picture of you and you put in your social security, you fill out the thing, sign it, boom, sent in. Like, I feel like that would just be a lot more people would vote. Sure, I mean, who even knows, the security behind that? Like, if we can trust that.
Right. Well, can we trust the companies that provide the security?
True. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. We have a lot. A guest had a good point. We have our banking information. We have a lot of private stuff on our phones.
Right.
So-
but that's not really valuable to them.
True.
The people that want access to these major things, they don't care if I've got 15 grand in my bank. You know what I mean? They're
True.
like-
Yeah.
They'd be like,
That is a good point. That is a very good point.
this guy's only got 15 grand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they don't
Yeah.
care about that stuff.
True.
Money's not an issue whatsoever. I mean, the CIA is well funded,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For everything
100%,
we've talked
yeah.
about.
It's just like, how do you figure out? Because it's fun to come up with solutions, or
We need to vote in person,
vote in person. You think?
and we need to dye our fingers, just like they do in other countries.
What do you mean?
So, like in Iraq, when they had the first public vote after the fall of Hussein, when everybody votes, their finger gets dyed purple. You can't double vote because now your finger's stained for like 30 days.
Really?
Yeah, it's like a gentian violet pigment.
I have never heard of that before.
Yeah, and they use it a lot in third world countries, mainly because of stuff that we're seeing here. Like
Yeah.
people driving across straight lines to vote in that state and then vote in the next state.
Yep.
And, you know what I mean?
Yep. That's insane. Third world countries use this, and we don't use that.
Well, we think we're so technologically advanced, but really, all this stuff does is allow it to be manipulated.
True.
Easier.
Wow.
Like much more.
I wish I
easier.
would have known about this
Like
dying the finger thing.
Mail-in voting is the easiest thing to make fraudulent. In fact, the Democrats launched a mail-in voting plan against Abraham Lincoln to try and steal that election.
Really? And Trump should have known that this was coming. He's
Been talking about this for a year.
Well, they've been talking about doing the mail-in voting, and I don't think Trump said very much about it at all. Like,
oh, he actually did.
Did he?
He said a lot. He's like, this is going to be, it's going to be fraudulent. Like, this is so easy to manipulate. Several states just sent out ballots to anybody. Like, if you had been in Georgia since like 1994, but you moved to California, they still sent a ballot.
Really?
You know what I mean? California just mass mailed ballots to the voter rolls.
Really?
Wisconsin, they were one of the places they had, actually at several of the precincts, they had way more votes than there are even people to
in the
vote.
county.
Yeah.
I heard some
it
stuff
happened
like
in
that.
a lot of places.
Yeah.
So
Some unbelievably high voter turnout, like 97%.
or like 125%.
Oh, really?
150%. Yeah,
Wow.
like let's say there's 1 million people.
Yep.
Well, 2 million people voted. You know what I mean? That's the kind of stuff they're running into.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know?
And if you go to Australia, I'm pretty sure you have to vote there.
Oh, you do?
I'm pretty sure you have to. It's like illegal not to. And
That's
they pull, I
interesting.
think they pull like 92%, 93%.
Wow.
And you have to vote there. If you don't vote, you can actually be fined.
Wow.
And so how are we?
We average about 70. I
Yeah,
think.
but some of these counties that are pulling like 97% voted, 90,
no way.
80, even 80, 70, and 80%, I feel like
Right.
is high. Like that's
very high.
very high. And it is, if comes out to be an actual verified election, it's awesome how many people came out and voted. Like people
really is.
really, whether you hate Trump, love Trump, whatever, you hate Biden, love Biden, the amount of people that became politically active during this whole thing is pretty nice because people are starting to care more.
I feel like that's the biggest gift Trump gave to the U.S., even if you hate him. I mean, he made people start to pay attention.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
100%.
Like big time. Like
Yeah.
I know people that they couldn't name 2 people in the government, and now they watch C-SPAN. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like it's a fucking,
Yeah.
like it's the
Cartoon
NFL
Network.
network.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's
That's crazy.
People are much more aware of what's going on now.
Yep.
But there's such a big disinformation campaign.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And the divide right now among Americans is probably the worst it's been in a long time. You know, it's horrible.
Yeah. It's actually it's as bad or worse than we were post Civil War.
Yeah, it's horrible. And I'm hoping that I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I guess we're not going to know for, until next year what's the future of this country. But I'm hoping that things get figured out and that 2021 is a better year for this country to come together,
We'll see. What do how do you guys feel about the vaccine?
The vaccine?
Or the multiple vaccines?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to the mandates and everything going away. So I think the vaccine, get it to the hospital workers or whatever, and like get these people that need it.
If you were a first responder, would you want to be? First off, would you want the vaccine? And then second, would you want to be forced to take it to keep your job?
That's crazy. Yeah,
that's happening.
It's a tough position.
Well, I don't think that should happen. Be forced? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't think anyone should be forced to. But you think they're going to?
There's going to.
I've heard stuff like that.
There's hospitals, in medical practices where if you don't get the flu vaccine every year, you're not eligible to work there. You know what I mean? So
that's a tough question.
That's a personal freedom issue.
It is, yeah, 100%. Because you got to be able to make your own decision for your. You got to be able to make a decision what you put in your body.
Absolutely.
So
I was doing some research just to try and figure out what percentage of the adult population gets the flu shot, because I was trying to figure out who's going to get this vaccine.
Yeah.
And then what are all the parameters that they're going to utilize to roll this thing out, and how are people going to trust that?
Yeah.
So on average, about 55% of the adult population goes and gets the flu vaccine every year.
I figured it'd be more.
It's about 45% of kids and then 55% of adults. So if that's what we're achieving with did I just lose you guys?
Oh, can you not hear yourself?
Yeah. Oh, there we go. if that's what we're achieving with a widely available vaccine that we
Things
have,
disconnecting. Might have to.
as
fiddle
long as
with
you
it.
can still hear me.
I can hear you. Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So if that's a widely available thing that they're cooking up every year, you
Yeah.
know, trying to guess which strains are going to be popular
Yeah.
and come out. They usually pick 2 or 3, and then they try and make a cocktail of that. And then if they're wrong, we have a terrible flu season like we did 2 years ago where like 85,000 people died from the flu,
Really?
which is like a normal thing.
Yeah.
I mean, in 2018, 2.5 million people died worldwide from tuberculosis. Nobody gave a shit. Nobody even knows that.
No one knows that.
You know
at
what I mean?
all. No.
It's because it hasn't been publicized. It hasn't been weaponized like
No.
all of this other stuff has.
Yeah.
So with those numbers, 55% of adults and 45% of kids, can we expect those same numbers or something higher because we're supposedly in a pandemic? So if we're in a pandemic and people trust that they're doing us right, you're going to see a higher percentage than that probably for that vaccine. People don't trust the government.
No. Not
We're-
at all.
We're Americans. We're not supposed to trust the government.
No.
This country is founded
Supposed to
on
question-
not trusting the
Yeah,
government. You know
yeah.
what I mean? So how are they going to roll it out? Are they gonna?
Military is what I've heard.
Well, that's how they're going to distribute it. But
Yeah.
Are they going to dress it up so that we are more excited about taking it?
They put it in like a Big Mac, or what are they gonna do with it?
Well, it all depends on, like, public relations is huge with anything, especially in something like this. If I were trying to, like, let's say the vaccine's very effective and it's fantastic, but nobody trusts the government and we're in that position.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and put together some kind of public relations campaign to socially engineer a way for everyone to be accepting of this and to raise and boost that number. And how do you do that? You know what I mean? I'm sure there's lots of ways that they've devised to gain, acceptance of something or, to help the public along to accept something that they may not want to. I mean, look at, obviously the media is king of that. You
yeah,
know what I
for
mean?
sure,
They've been
100%.
doing that forever.
Yeah.
But how are they going to do it? You know what I mean? And
I'm-
what percentage of America is going to step up and get that vaccine?
Yeah.
And what percentage are going to be forced to?
I hope no one's forced to get it, honestly. I think older people, hospital workers, people like that should look into it. I don't think it'd be a bad thing. Like you said, the trust in the government thing is what it comes down to. This is going to become another right versus left political thing.
They'll make it that way.
100%, yeah. It's going to be like that because people on the right are more skeptical of what the government tells you to do, and then people on the left are, well, we need to do it for the better of everybody.
Right. And all what you just said, both those have been socially engineered into us.
Really?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's too bad that's the case. It's too bad that the
I mean, if you watch the news,
Yep.
and you agree with a lot of what's on TV, then it's just an echo chamber, and they understand that, like, all right, we have these people, they're with us.
Yep.
Whatever we want to roll out or tell them, it's just a conduit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
Whereas, like, you've got a percentage of the population that aren't into that. Well, then how do we reach those people? You know
Yep.
what I mean? Like,
Yep.
it seems like media is the big rollout. for
Media is
everything.
almost bigger than like the president. It's like media it has more influence than
yeah.
like anything. That's the craziest part to me about it is the media's power
And people
right now.
people don't fact check the stuff.
No. Even the
Not-
fact checking
not
websites.
the fact checkers. The fact checkers are actually working for the liberal media.
That's what I thought. I've looked at fact checkers that are fact checking fact checkers. Like you have to almost. It's like who's right? Where? Like how much of this is non-biased?
It's fact checking, in my opinion, especially seeing how it's utilized. It's
It's like a second wave of fake news.
Well, it essentially is. It's
Not all of it, but
it's like Big Brother basically
Yeah.
saying, well, don't worry, we verified this information.
Yeah.
It's like, are you fucking kidding me? Really? I'm supposed to just
Yeah.
take your word for it?
Oh yeah, I
Okay,
fell for it too. I mean, like I'll find myself reading an article and then go on like Snopes or whatever, which it could be,
Snopes is actually Snopes is a CIA program.
I figured. I mean, I figured it was something like because I've seen stuff on there. I'm like, that can't be right, and so I'll do more searches, look at multiple sources, figure out that's not correct, and it's on Snopes, and they say, well, it's kind of like Wikipedia. People don't realize anyone can go in there
Exactly.
and change it.
Exactly. Yeah, who are we employing as these fact checkers?
Yeah.
And I mean,
what's their background?
well,
What do
that's the
they
thing is
know?
they're not non-biased sources. I mean,
Exactly.
they're not.
No.
If it were, they wouldn't be posting so hard that Joe Biden's won the election when we've got all of this stuff going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if they were actually fact checking, they'd say, well, it hasn't been determined yet. This is the initial, how it's viewed.
Yep.
And this is what's happening.
Yep.
That's what a real fact check on that would be.
Yep.
Not what we're seeing like on every single post.
Yep.
Have you seen some of the fake ones? Some of the historical fact checks?
No.
Oh, they're so good.
Historical fact checks?
Well, they're kind of memes.
Oh, really? If you could find something here.
There's one. Hold on.
What I wanted to say was the crazy part is what we're talking about right now. Just talking about like questioning things and like double checking and verifying and like going to multiple sources. This would be considered like a right-wing conservative talk right now, which is mind-boggling to me because this should be no matter what side you're on.
Yeah, this should be
a
level playing field.
Exactly. But this conversation, people are going, oh, these guys, it's very conservative right-wing. It's just like you should question what you're being told.
Yeah, I don't know when people stopped wanting the truth, but it definitely happens sometime.
It's unbelievable.
So check this out. So are you familiar? Do you know a lot about history?
Some
of these are hilarious.
Yeah.
So this tweet is from Lao Kun, who is I think he was a Trojan priest during the Trojan War. And the tweet is, "We must not bring the wooden horse into the city. I fear Greeks, even those bearing gifts. We must burn it." And then underneath it's fact checked and it says, "Learn how the generous Greek peace offering is safe and secure." And there's so many of these going around.
They make it like that Twitter back in the day or something. That's
it's
funny.
Hilarious.
I gotta check
there's
some of
tons
those
of them, and they're really smart. They're probably so much smarter than anything else you read on Twitter.
It's hilarious because it's probably true. Like if it were to be,
it shows. It's like that right there is like no, we should trust the generous gift of the Greek. Like, you know what I mean? Like the fact checkers say so.
That's funny.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the vaccine? Because it's one of those things where I'm not like an anti-vaccination, like I'm not like going into that hardcore stuff like that.
I'm not either. There are many issues with all the vaccines that we have now.
Yeah.
One of the major ones that we have, especially with children's vaccines, is that they're not given individually. They're given cocktails, which ups the possibility of them to have reactions and stuff.
Yeah.
Robert Kennedy is actually, one of the Kennedys. I don't know if you follow him online,
I've seen some things he's done. Yeah,
he has a lot of information. A lot of people in that camp doing research and stuff. And I'm not a doctor or a physician to say that that's anything's correct or wrong or anything.
Yeah,
I just know what I've read.
Yeah.
So we do have issues with vaccines and the development of them over the years. There's issues with the vaccine companies not being able to be held liable for stuff.
Yeah,
I think that's a real problem. So that said, I want information about the vaccine.
Yeah.
The flu comes every year. We have a vaccine for that. It doesn't really do shit. You know what I mean? Like the flu's still here. Mm-hmm. The flu hasn't gone anywhere. The flu is a coronavirus. So all this COVID-19 is a new or novel coronavirus.
Because they're saying it's going to come back again next year.
Right. So what's their first off? What are they trying to accomplish? And what's the time period we can look at? So are you vaccinated for a few months? Is there a season like we're looking at other coronaviruses?
That's what I'm assuming it's going to happen. Yeah.
If you've had the coronavirus, how long are you immune for?
True.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
None of this shit gets brought up.
No.
It's all just.
Do they know yet? Is it too soon to know? Like, do they not have enough research out?
No, they should know.
You'd think they would. Yeah.
Know.
Yeah.
We've had this for 10 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We absolutely know.
Yeah.
It's not being published.
That's the craziest part. Blows me away.
And then what are the benefits of this vaccine? What do we gain from it besides
comfort,
social acceptance? Yeah,
I think that's what it is. It's more and I don't know.
That's what these are.
Vaccines. Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Vaccines are putting the thing in you.
Yeah, you're being
but
inoculated.
a weaker version of it, like a defeated version of it, and then your body takes that over quicker and fights it, and then knows this is bad.
All right, it's essentially like It's usually essentially a dead version of the virus or disease, and your body takes it in, and your immune system essentially figures out a way to fight or adapt to that, but it's not active.
Okay.
So that's the way I understand it. Like
Gotcha.
when they first started inoculating people from smallpox, they were taking open sore stuff from people who had active smallpox, and then they were injecting that into people, and that was some of the first vaccines that we were getting for some of these, obviously pre-modern medicine.
Oh,
but,
yeah. That's crazy.
They discovered that stuff.
Wow. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens here.
I don't know.
It's been a crazy year.
A lot of it's social engineering. The mask thing, I know people are like really into it, and I know it makes people feel good, but the thing I keep bringing up, and I'll happily wear it if it makes anybody feel good about it or makes them less scared. But have you ever seen what people look like when they work in a virology lab? They wear spacesuits.
Oh, space. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You think that what we're doing,
Here's my argument. My argument for the mask thing has always been whether you agree with it or not. Like, because I'm definitely I don't know enough information about medicine or whatever to have like an understanding of how it spreads and everything.
Several major organizations have produced papers over the last 20 years that talk about the efficacy of masks. You can look them up. Australia did one. Johns Hopkins did one.
Really?
You can read the medical papers regarding it. So
my opinion's been on it though, because I know friends that are like, I'm not going anywhere that makes me wear one. I just can't go with that because the thing is, the government telling Walls is saying to these businesses, you guys need to wear a mask, otherwise we're going to shut you down, and your customers need to wear a mask, otherwise we're going to shut you down. So then there's these people that are going to Walmart. I was in Walmart today, walking in, and there's a guy screaming at the employees, cussing them out. We're screaming at minimum wage people who are just trying to do their job. They don't care. And they
shouldn't have to.
They shouldn't have to. But the thing is, yelling at those people is just not right. Yelling at fast food workers, yelling at people at restaurants, ridiculous.
That's the same as people who are masked that are yelling at people without masks.
Exactly.
It's just walk away. Walk the other direction. You're, pick your battles. Come on. We're all Americans. Why are people out fighting the street over some trivial stuff?
That's ridiculous. Yeah.
And if you want to fight somebody, you should be going to these politicians' houses.
Yeah.
And asking them why they've ruined all these small businesses.
Yep.
I think 1/3 of all of the restaurants in New York have closed up.
I heard that too. Ridiculous.
A
third, yeah.
And I mean, it's going to be more.
Oh, for sure. It's going to get worse before it gets better. And I've been saying that since this thing, not since it started. In the beginning, I predicted that this was going to be a light thing. And then quickly it became very real,
Did you see any of the footage from China before we had knowledge of it being here in the States?
No.
So there's a lot of it online. So I've been following this since early December of last year.
Really?
Because I was seeing a lot of this stuff, now I'm calling it propaganda, because there are people just passing out on the street, and there's people running around picking up people with hazmat suits on. And
what?
Tons of these videos that were being let out of China where they don't allow Western media in.
Yep.
So they were letting all these videos out of that country that we were intercepting on our feeds.
Yep.
And looking back now, based on what we've experienced over the last, 10 months or so, and then what they were projecting for the pandemic or the scare, all of that was propaganda.
Really?
All of it. It was all engineered to freak us out and then to be used as a way to shut us all down. I don't doubt for 1 second that this has all been carefully orchestrated.
Well, my theory from the whole thing, and now we're getting to the territory people are going to start getting pissed off here, but we got to just put out there these are theories, and these are things that it's
opinions,
shouldn't be afraid to talk about.
I didn't invent this theory.
Yeah, I know.
I'm talking about something I read on the internet.
But you get that people will get offended by us having a conversation, even thinking
they
about.
should go outside and kick a ball. Yeah. You know what I mean? If you're offended by a podcast, you should really reevaluate your life.
I'm not worried about it at all, but it's just one of those things I know that this is
Stop being so weak.
It's a touchy subject. My theory, one of the things I've thought from a while back is that it was a chemical or biological attack from China.
I totally believe that.
Because have you seen the numbers, China COVID numbers? They're hilarious.
Well, they didn't give us any information on it when it You know, when it first kicked up. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, hey, yesterday they had
it's like,
today they had 9. Let's look at let's go to
5 cases.
11.
This is exactly like Kim Jong Un has he has a round of golf where he hit a hole in one on every hole. Did you know that?
Yeah.
That's like on his. That's like in his bio.
But my thing has always been, if you believe that, you must be the dumbest person ever.
Absolutely.
You must be the dumbest person ever if you actually think that. Look at this, going all the way back. Let's go all the way back here.
In July, in Wuhan, where this supposed epicenter of this was, they had like a 5,000 person rave.
Oh, really?
They had a party. It was projected all over the world. I mean, I saw footage of it.
And then they said, this could be the United States if everyone wore a mask. It's like, get
You know
out
what?
of town.
If masks work, why do we have a shutdown? If the first shutdown worked, why are we having a second shutdown?
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
if
It's
if the 6 foot distancing works, why are we wearing a mask?
Yep.
Like, it just doesn't track.
No.
You know what I mean? And I'm not like sorry, you know, if I'm like hurting your feelings, people, but like, you know, think for yourself for once.
Exactly.
Like, turn the TV off.
I couldn't agree
Go
more.
over and go next door and talk to your neighbor.
Yep.
You know, I don't care what their political affiliation is. That's an American. You know, we are in this together.
Yep.
We're not in this together in the sense that like we all need to like give over our you know, civil liberties back to the government. We are not in this together in that sense.
Yeah.
We are in this together in the fact that we are all being manipulated, and it's being used for something.
What do you say to the argument? Because I know the argument is, so you don't care about people dying from COVID. You don't care. That's the argument.
Do you want to know something really interesting? Okay. The number of people that are projected to die this year, total, is no different than the number of people that died last year or the people that died the year before.
From the flu.
From anything. Just number of
we
deaths
still had
total.
the flu this year.
Number of deaths total.
Really?
We're projected to, I think it's, I could probably, I know I can look it up. It was, I just saw it on Instagram today, and it had all of it has all of the sources listed. Where'd it go?
We can look on here. I can try to see if I can find something on here.
You believe those death totals though from China?
No,
absolutely
no.
not.
If you like, I
don't
just said,
believe the death totals from our country. I mean, especially because early on they were rolling out all that stuff where like, oh, he was in a motorcycle accident, he died from COVID. That's just not true. I mean, are they tracking like? The guy obviously didn't die from COVID. Okay, did he have COVID when he died? It's possible, but why are you considering that a COVID death?
Right.
Most of our deaths in nursing homes in the flu season, you know, happen from the flu. It's not from, you know, most of these people are in hospice. You know, it's just, I mean, obviously it is out there. People are getting this thing. It's not a fake disease. But you know, they're manipulating the numbers.
Oh, for sure.
At this point, there's no way we can get back to real data because it's been so overly, you know, embellished.
Yeah, it's hard to find. I mean, you're looking at all this stuff on here, and it's excess deaths or whatever. It's hard.
Are we on Google?
This is Google. This is Center for Disease Control website.
Right. They've changed their numbers several times now.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like hard to figure out what the actual number is until like everything's said and done. I feel like.
Right. So if you can go like look up total deaths for 2019, just total deaths U.S. Should be like 2,000,008, something like that.
Let's see. Do we have a total? Because it shows all the months or whatever. These are deaths, births. Okay. Why can't we just get a total here? It's like everything's so difficult too.
Oh, that's 2020. So go change the display
2020.
by
Here
year.
you go. Yeah.
I'll go to 2019.
Let's see if there it is.
Where?
I think right down there at the bottom. 2,855,000.
I'm still not even seeing that. I must be blind. Oh, right here.
Yeah. What is that?
Well,
what's
this
that
is
column?
12-month ending. Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yep.
So 2 million.
So we're projected right now, because they have to project from here forward.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
we have a month left, but they're projecting for 2,815,000.
15. Real. What are we at right now? Because we can look right for 2020.
Should be able to. Yeah, that's not accurate.
This has 3 million.
Yeah.
That's not.
That's not where the other data that I saw was coming from. And they gave the links for everything.
Really?
Yep.
It's crazy. That's like what we're talking about. How do you trust?
How do you fact check the CDC?
That's what I don't know. How do you
fact check the World Health Organization?
How do you? Yeah.
These people are in control of our lives.
Number of deaths. It looks pretty similar to 2019. Like if you look at per month, whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't even know. It's hard to say here. I just don't know enough about this stuff to like go out and like you said. How do you fact check the CDC? Like, what do you do? Where do you get other news? Like, where do you get other factual information like that?
They hold all the cards,
Yeah.
and we're just supposed to trust what they're saying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. It's a tough. I don't know. It's it puts everyone in a really tough spot because it's like you can't trust, but you want to trust, and it's.
Well, it's just easier to pretend like we have an agreement. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They broke the agreement this year. Like they broke the contract. They
Oh,
broke
yeah.
the contract.
They
with
probably
the American
broke it a
people.
while ago. They probably broke it a while ago.
Well, yeah, they
You know
did,
what I mean?
But
This
they
year,
broke it publicly this year.
this year it really came out. Yeah. Well, let's just hope that 2021 is a more like a year where people come together. That's what we always talk about. It seems to.
We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
We can pray for it. We can pray for
There's
it.
a lot of weird stuff on the horizon, depending on which way some of these things go.
Oh yeah, I would love to see the demise of the two-party system. I would love to get rid of that party politics. I think it'd be better for everybody.
The problem is we don't get to decide that essentially because if you're for one thing, they take an issue and you can only go one way or the other on that issue politically. Like they they
separate.
stratify it and then it's just polarized. You know what I mean? So take any issue. I don't even want to pick one because they're so controversial.
Yeah.
But let's say abortion, no abortion. Where's the middle ground on that? Nobody's really representing that.
There's topics like that are like one or the other, but then there's things that like Republicans, and then you have like far right, and then you have like liberals, and then far left.
Right. Well, the far right and the far left, they don't count.
No?
No, they don't count. Those people are like fundamentalists.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
but some people might call Bernie Sanders far left. Because the
he's
socialist.
not far left because he's got 3 mansions.
True, yeah. Well,
You know what I
he publicly far left, like for what people know.
He's definitely left, but if he was far left, he'd be calling for violence in the streets, which he is not.
Yeah.
You know
Okay.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Far left is a thing. Far right and far left are they're almost the same side of the coin, really.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? It's ultimate control, and it's
Violence,
authoritarianism,
violence to get your ideas across.
Yep, fascism.
Yeah.
I mean, people mistake, right-leaning as fascist, which is totally not true. If you look up like what fascism actually is, it's way more in bed with the left.
Oh, I mean,
The
you
far
look at
left,
these
not-
Antifa. The far left. The Antifa people are like the embodiment of fascism.
Absolutely.
But they're like anti-fascist.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's like me saying, what would be a funny analogy for this? I run a donut shop, but I'm anti-donut. You know what I mean? Like,
literally. It's, I don't know. From everything we've seen this year, I would picture it'd be pretty hard for 2021 to be worse, like as far as division goes.
I think we're going to see martial law.
Really?
Yeah. I think right now what they're doing is they're priming the public with this big like election fiasco. The media jumped right on it and said, "Look, Biden won." Ink's not even dry on these ballots yet.
No.
They already called it for him. Okay, which forces, I guess, the Trump campaign and any other Republicans who are think they got the short end of the stick in the voting. It forces them to have to go to court and litigate. Okay, or accept, which they absolutely shouldn't. The left wouldn't accept it. If you were a Democrat and you were treated poorly, I would expect you to litigate.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
100%.
Go to court.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
the country is at stake, and it's not necessarily like who's in charge. It's the country's its own entity.
It's a constitutional right to go to
being
court.
pulled from
Yeah.
two sides, but the country's its own thing.
Yeah.
We need the country to stay intact.
Yep.
I don't want the country to be far right. I don't want the country to be far left.
No.
I just want the country to stay intact. you
Yeah.
know? But they're priming people. They immediately said, "Oh, he won." So now anything the other side does, they can point the finger and say they're trying to steal. So as it ramps up, and we're going to see a strong ramp up as we head towards the ratification of these votes from Congress, the Electoral College meets.
Yep.
And then as we approach inauguration.
Yeah.
It probably still won't be settled.
Really?
In my opinion. I mean, it took 37 days. Gore was president for 37 days, and that was one state that they had to do a recount on.
Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One state.
Yep.
We have 5. And then we have other states that are also
potentially.
iffy. Right.
Yeah,
Minnesota's one of those.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because of the voting machine fiasco.
Yeah. Wow.
So they're priming people. They're setting everybody up. It's like a big Molotov cocktail. And I don't know what's scarier. Them, if they do successfully steal an election, if that's even provable, or if Trump actually ends up winning, and now we have like complete anarchy in the streets.
It's gonna be insane.
So that's how I think we might end up at a martial law point.
Where and for people that don't know martial laws, they can create laws just out of thin air, right?
Well, it's essentially shutting down society so the military is in control.
Gotcha.
Now, stuff like that, it's really far-fetched, but I mean, we've never been where we are right now in this country.
No.
I mean, I think people, we still have electricity, we still get our gasoline's being delivered.
It's not the apocalypse.
The grocery store shelves are still full.
Yeah.
People aren't taking this as seriously as I think they should be because they're not seeing an effect on their average everyday life. And in fact, that's a very important part of keeping people in line, in check,
Just
believing,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like accepting the terms of the agreement.
Yeah.
If all of a sudden there was a supply chain issue and grocery stores stopped getting food, take like 3 days and we'd be out in the streets killing each other.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that agreement needs to stay in place so that people feel comfortable and feel like their world is okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh.
You can't mess with that.
Yeah.
Or we end up as like Somalia. You know what I mean?
Literally
like lawless.
some crazy rundown.
So we'll see what happens. I don't think we're headed for an easier time. I think we're headed for a worse time.
Oh, well, let's hope for the better of everybody that things.
Hope is not a plan.
I can't. Yeah, and like Logan said, we're not the government, and we'll. I don't want to be. I don't want to be.
We're supposed to be the government.
Well,
we're supposed to.
We're supposed to have a voice. We're supposed to. We're kind of seeing that things don't really. They aren't as they seem. They aren't as they seem.
It's been this way since post World War II.
Yeah.
There's been other facets in control.
Yeah.
Or vying for control.
Any positive messages for the end of the podcast?
On a crazy note, we did another 2-hour podcast.
Really? Wow. That flew by.
It did. It was fun.
It was fun. It was a great time. And to everybody that was looking at this as like a negative.
It shouldn't be a negative.
Shouldn't be. Questioning the government is part of the Constitution.
This is us looking out for each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this is me looking out for whoever wants to listen to this stuff.
Yep.
I don't know if I'm right. I don't know if anybody's right.
Exactly.
But the point is to open your mind, take the information in, and make your own mind up about it.
Yep.
Just turn your TV off. I mean, it's so bad. They call it programming for a reason.
Oh, yeah, 100%. There's no denying that the media doesn't, I don't know, brainwash is the right word, even though I kind of want to say that.
It is the right word.
Is it brainwash?
It is the right
You think
word,
it
yeah.
is? It is? If
I
you
keep
watch
saying
it,
social engineering because
social
it's a
engineering,
little bit
yeah.
nicer.
It is.
Because people think brainwashing has a negative connotation.
And
I don't want to say, I don't want to be like you're brainwashed because that's like
a no turning back.
It's a negative thing, or it's viewed negatively. It could be totally true. It's a real term. But,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It has a negative connotation, and
Yeah.
that's not what we should be doing. We shouldn't be negative towards each other.
No.
We should be trying to open the box.
Yeah.
Everyone should be trying their hardest to open the box.
I'll say if you get one thing out of this, it should be to question the people that are making decisions that affect your everyday life.
Just think how easy it is to sell an idea through media. I mean, that concept right there,
Yep.
it doesn't even take a lot of effort. They could make up anything they want, put it on TV, run it on every station at 5 o'clock,
Yep.
and now it's truth.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. people don't think about that.
Easy. You know what I mean? So, I know it hurts to like think about, the issues of the world and like, not be able to face it with a positive light. But
Yeah.
I mean, we've been doing it forever. We're kind of sheltered in this country. In a way.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, we're kind of in like a big terrarium,
Yeah.
and like somebody's like sprinkling the little turtle chips in there for us all. But if you look outside the terrarium, you look at countries like Africa or like the Middle East where there's still unrest in some places, or
Afghanistan,
Burma, or Myanmar, or these places where they're having these, there's issues. We're so sheltered from that. It's like it's not having to walk downtown and look at homeless people. You know what I mean? Like, so just keep in mind that we still had it really good in America, in the U.S. And we need to support each other in finding out the truth and keeping our country alive.
100%.
That's more important than the election.
Yeah. That's a great message right there. That's what I think we should end it on. I like that message. Unity is a big thing, and that's what we need more of. More unity, no matter where you believe or what you believe.
And not like not fake unity, like real unity.
Real unity. People coming together.
Like not like all of a sudden, hey, let's be friends now that we've like tore each other's faces off for years. Like real unity.
Yeah, not Pepsi commercial
Exactly.
unity.
Exactly.
So Trent, thank you so much for coming. This has been an awesome time. I got to thank David too. That was awesome hearing from him. It almost seems like another podcast to go talking to David. We'll be looking out for monoliths if there's any out there.
I want to see his channel develop.
Yeah, me too. We'll keep you updated with that. We'll keep everyone updated. Check out his video on there. He has like a 17-minute video where he goes into like the mapping and finding and like it's very cool.
How he kind of
he puts the maps on the screen and talks about getting there. So everyone check that out. I'll have a link in there. Again, Trent, thank you so much for coming. This has been awesome.
Yeah, thanks. I hope it's well received. I can come back.
Yeah, 100%. You're definitely coming back. I don't care what anyone thinks about it. We're having conversations. We're not talking we're not saying everything we're saying is right. These are just opinions and what we've read and what we've heard.
We need people to toughen themselves up.
Exactly.
Everybody.
Yeah.
All Americans need to toughen themselves
and be more
up.
open to hearing other perspectives on
Absolutely.
stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. So thanks, Colin, for producing this one. Thank you, Trent. We'll be back next week. I think we have a retired DEA agent coming on, so that'll be interesting to hear from him.
Excellent.
So we'll be back next week. This is the Ethan Clerc Podcast.